All the way from Chicago to Santa Monica, we're cruising along for day 4 of the Fixed Ops Roundtable Route 66 road trip event. Adventure on the Mother Road with us as we near our final destination. And here's our navigator and host, Vanessa Collins.
Good morning. I'm Vanessa Collins from Northwood University. We're nearing our destination on our trip. Santa Monica is calling our name. Can you hear it? So mark your maps and fill up the gas tank for the final sprint of the Fixed Ops Roundtable's Route 66 road trip event. No need for a map to interact with the chat. Simply navigate to the right-hand side of your screen. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Getting behind the wheel is today's first speaker. Please welcome John Fairchild from Fairchild Automotive Solutions.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. As we travel the country on our Route 66 road trip, it is fitting to stop and meet the Fixed Ops high performance coach himself, John Fairchild. John, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Thanks so much. And you know what? Let's talk about the Fixed Ops Roundtable for a second. What an amazing resource for dealers. And, you know, I can't believe how far you've come with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm just so proud to be a part of it. Thank you for having me.
John, humbled and honored to have you. We have at the Roundtable only the best. So our dealers and managers come to see and hear John Fairchild and the best in the industry. So, John, here we are in January. I know you've been very busy. Congratulations to you on all the success you're having in store and with all the different services you do for dealers and fixed operations. Tell us some of the things we need to be focusing on here to start the year off right.
You know, and I appreciate the venue, and this is not a sales pitch that I'm going to be, putting down. I'd really just want to give some information to dealers that hopefully will resonate and to help them to progress through the year. And it's the first part of the year. And I wrote an article about executing excellence. And if you've ever heard anything come out of my mouth in the past, it's probably the word execution, because let's face it, no software, no fancy consultant, no kiosk, no in the drive apparatus to measure whatever you're measuring coming through the drive. Nothing works unless we work it. And that continues to be the theme that I see in every service department around the country is to what level are we actually executing and holding people accountable. So I put together an article called Launching a Winning Service Department Strategy for the First 90 Days. And obviously we're into the month of January pretty good at this point. And but I wanted to put this out there just for the sake of dealers. And again, not a sales pitch, just looking to give some information that might be helpful.
All right. So, John, where do we start? Where do we begin? Like you said, it's a new year, new beginnings. But again, a lot of focus on that fixed ops department, service and parts, and more.
Yeah, no, I totally. And as we step into 2025, the service department's role in profitability in a dealership has never been greater. And in my best engagements, we're able to attain 100% fixed absorption or better. And, it is critical that the dealership's profitability and loyalty has never been more critical. Yet far too often, dealership leaders are caught in the whirlwind of what happens on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, minute-by-minute basis. And a lot of times the things that we're actually supposed to be focusing on get shoved by the wayside. And we're focusing, unfortunately, on that whirlwind of stuff that a lot of it's a necessary evil that we have to get done, but does not add another dollar to my profitability goals, does not add another feather in my cap as far as creating a great customer experience. Let's face it. So potential doesn't deliver results, Ted. Execution does. Okay. And, to borrow and to draw from the principles of the 4 disciplines of execution, a book by Sean Covey and team. If you all haven't looked at it, please do. But this article, and look, reach out to me if you want my whole article. I've got my information down here. I'll send it to you. Is a 90-day launch plan to align your team to drive accountability. And you've always heard me say the phrase, a cadence of accountability, Ted. But you know what? That comes from the book. And it's so true that any training that we do in any environment, but certainly in a service drive that I'm in day in and day out, is going to rapidly evaporate if we don't have that rhythm, that cadence, if you will, and that inspect what we expect measure of accountability. So let's break down into actual steps. Okay. And focus on what we call the lead measurements. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, in this world, we've got 2 types of measurements, Ted. As you know, we got lag measurements that are easily drawn from the DMS or the customer experience measurements from the manufacturer or Google or whatever. But guess what? We can't change those. We can't change them. They're done. The ship has sailed. It's done. What a lead measurement simply is, Ted, as you know, is it leads up to a better result. It almost predicts, not almost, it predicts a better outcome. Okay. So let's focus on lead measurement, accountability rhythms, and a culture of visible progress. It's very important that everybody on our team sees what our progress is. So the big picture is progress as a theme for 2025. And I'm going to say it like this, is progress over perfection. A lot of times we as human beings won't endeavor into things if we don't think we can do them exactly the same, in a perfect manner. Does that make sense, Ted?
Yeah, I fall into that trap, but it's more important to get going and be consistent, right, John?
Oh, for sure. So to take measurable progress, we must focus. I got 3 bullet points here that I want to lay down on you. Number 1, focus on lead measures, identifying the controllable activities of what predicts success. Now, let's take either menu presentation or the walk around as a controllable. All right. So as a service manager, I can't measure through a machine how often and what the quality is of the walk around, for an example, that I'm seeing. I've got to subjectively grade that as a manager. Yeah. But what I would urge you guys to do, and ladies, is to focus on lead measures. Identify the controllable activities that predict success. Pick one to begin with. Walk around's a good example. If you stand on your drive and observationally see, 10 out of 10, am I getting the quantity of walk-arounds that I want? Right? Out of 10 things, is Mr. Advisor number 1 performing them 10 out of 10 times with the customer?
With the customer. There we go. Okay. I like it. Interactive.
They got to walk around the car to get the numbers, to pod it, to take whatever pictures they got on their tablet. But are they doing it with the customer to get them into and building rapport and really invoking what Ted Ings calls the law of reciprocity? If I do something nice for that customer and I've built that rapport, now in turn, by human nature, they're going to feel a certain level of obligation to respond in kind. So focus on lead measures, number 1. Number 2, and this is the big picture, and we'll get down into the weeds a little bit in a minute. Create accountability rhythms, that cadence. Build habits through daily and weekly. In the book, they call them WIG sessions. What's a WIG? A WIG is a wildly important goal. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But
I'm going to write that down.
Write that down, please, and I'll send you the Audible version of this book because you'll love it if you haven't listened to it yet. But I got to have at least a weekly session with my techs, and I got to have a daily stand-up. I call them a daily stand-up. Some people call them a huddle, right? But I'm talking about a 7 to 10 minute meeting that focuses only on what our scoreboard is reading and how we can affect that. Number 3 is to celebrate visible wins. Track and recognize the small wins on your public scoreboard. Okay, that's very important. People are not just financially driven. They want to be recognized. They want to be, all that hard work and nobody says anything about it does not spell somebody who really feels valued in your team. So those are the 3 things. Focus on, in general, focus on lead measures, create accountability rhythms. And look, if you don't have a visible scoreboard, then it's going to be hard to do. And the 3rd thing, celebrate visible wins. It isn't about quick fixes, Ted. It's about building a repeatable system, repeatable for sustained growth. So, any kind of comments you've got there, interject, and then I'll go into what my first 30 days foundation building sounds like.
I think holding people accountable, knowing where they stand, celebrating the wins, that daily stand-up or huddle, as we've called it, and knowing where I rank. Nobody wants to be at the bottom. Everyone wants to be at the top. And when you're celebrated and recognized for where you're at, that goes a long way. And rather than do that once a year or once every 6 months, to do it daily. Again, it's part of that consistency, John, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the scoreboard, if you don't have one, reach out to me. I'll help you build one. I got several templates. It's got to be a couple of things. It's got to be something that as a team member, I could glance at. I don't have to have the paralysis by analysis of looking at that thing and scratching my head. Where am I at? I should be able to look at it. And if I'm in the green or if I'm not in the green, just like you said, Ted. So let's talk about phase 1, the first 30 days and foundation building. And, our objective here for the first 30 days or for the first period is to build clarity, set expectations, and to launch our key activities. So the first 30 days are all about alignment and preparation.
Ooh, yeah.
And what does success look like? How will it be measured? And what role do I have as a team member to play in that? So number 1 is to set our WIG, our wildly important goal. And, to have a goal has to be a couple of things, but in our industry, there's really 2 main focuses on the goals. We've got profitability, obviously, right? At the end of the month, we want to know that we made some money.
That's right.
Okay. And number 2 is customer experience, which is typically dictated by a comparison between a regional or OEM number or a group number that we're comparing ourselves against. So wildly important goal is you want to start out with 1 or 2 things, not 7 or 8 or 10. And,
right.
and I got with 1 or 2 WIGs that have the greatest impact. Here's a couple examples.
Go ahead.
Increase customer pay revenue by X%, whatever that is, right? Okay. Number 2, improve technician productivity to whatever percent we're at, relative improvement. And another thing about a goal is I want to really throw down here is it can't be something that my team members think is unattainable. Okay. And so what we want to do is we're going to have to adjust that goal as we move forward. Now, this is going to cause some team members to think or say, hey, every time I reach my goal, they change it. And you know what? That's true, Ted, because we're going to drag up to where we want to be. We may want to be clear up here, but if we're all the way down here, that goal is going to seem massive to a team member, and they're not going to pay attention to it. Okay. The other thing about a goal that I want to mention is we've got a built-in deadline. It's called a month, right? And at the end of the month, if I've reached my goal or have exceeded it, I'm a hero. Right. But the very next day, what happens, Ted?
0.
Not that I'm a 0, but I'm back to 0 and I'm starting over. Right. So that's the number 1 thing is set our wildly important goals. goals to be specific, measurable, and time bound. And again, they are pretty conveniently time bound by the term month in our business. So number 2, identify lead measures and for each goal. So each goal is going to have what lead measurement. I gave the walk around as an example. That's a good example. 100% walk around inspections for every vehicle with the customer. Number 2, daily technician and huddles to set priorities. Those are both excellent lead measures. Okay. So number 3 is going to be where we establish that cadence, that rhythm, establishing the accountability rhythms. Accountability doesn't necessarily mean beating people over the head, Ted, although it may come to that. But it doesn't mean that. I'm just kidding. We got to encourage people. We got to coach them. In my best endeavors, I'm able to coach the coach because, again, if we don't have coaching, any training will rapidly evaporate. So daily stand-up meetings, weekly WIG meetings. That's a must. A daily stand meeting, again, is a quick 5 to 10 minute huddle. It's not a complaint session. It's not a housekeeping session. It's to focus on what our goals are. Number 2 is our weekly WIG meeting, focusing and review on the overall strategy. Everybody in my team should know, as a department, what are we striving for? How close are we to getting it? Are we in the red as a team? Are we in the green as a team? And then number 4 on my list to launch this is launching the scoreboard. If you don't have the scoreboard, it needs to be real-time visual. It needs to track lead measures, and it needs to be accessible to everybody. So you may even send a link to everybody as well, but have that display in a non-customer facing area that all team members can see. And guess what, Ted? It's kind of like a silent salesperson. If it's there on its own, in a certain degree, it also works on its own because you're going to see it. And like you said, nobody wants to be at the bottom. And then the 5th thing for launching is communicate the vision. Hold a launch meeting, spell out everything we do, and emphasize the importance of consistent execution. So the key takeaway for month 1 is going to be, begins with clarity, alignment, and consistent communication. Phase 2 is consistent reinforcement. So the next 31 to 60 days, I want to build the habits to reinforce accountability. I'll run through some of those. Is obviously maintaining our accountability rhythm. Don't let it drop. It's so easy to let things go by the wayside. But guess what? If we do that, folks, you've experienced this before, I'm sure, is your service advisors and team members will wait you out. And so the next initiative you do is not going to be as potent. Measure and adjust. Again, we want to adjust at least on a monthly basis so that we're making constant progress. And along the way, I want to introduce emotional deposits, and that really does invoke the law of reciprocity, which means by human nature, if I do something nice for you, Ted, you're going to feel obligated, a sense of obligation to do something nice for me. So what are some of those things? Follow up personally with your customers. Any emotional deposits I make with a customer are going to result in a much better uptake of my suggestions. Okay. So number 9, or the next point I've got on this next phase, is address resistance and celebrate early wins. Look, not everyone is going to adopt your new rhythms immediately. That doesn't mean give up. Address resistance with empathy, particularly at first, and with coaching, and publicly celebrate. So you want to privately address any resistance, but publicly celebrate team member wins and as they excel, because look, everybody wants to make sure that they see how it happens in reality, and then they can emulate that. So my key month takeaway for month 2 is repetition, reinforcement, recognition. Repetition, reinforcement, recognition. I can't say that enough. Repetition, reinforcement, recognition. So now, and I'm blowing through these pretty quick because I know I got a limited amount of time, but the 61 through 90 day phase is acceleration and optimization. Okay. So now we've launched it. We've gotten into a rhythm, and we've used our repetition, reinforcement, and recognition. And now we just got to keep it going, guys. Acceleration and optimization and putting the foot on the gas. So by now, accountability rhythms should feel like second nature. It's that phrase, we've always done it like this. Well, now we're getting into where we could probably say that about some good things that we're doing, because usually it's a bad connotation when I say that. But fine-tuning the process and scaling for success. So how do we do that? Optimize workflows. Okay, that's the first point I got, is are our processes efficient, or do we need to dial them in further? Are there bottlenecks in communication or execution? And address gaps swiftly so everyone understands their role in the system. Next point, focus on technician training. Schedule monthly training hours for technicians, invest in tools and resources to improve their efficiency. And, my next point is refining our lead measures. So we don't want to give up on the lead measures we started. Let's take the walk around, for example. Once I move on to another lead measure, that doesn't mean I'm going to let the first one go by the wayside. Please, please, please. But are our lead measures still predictive of success? That's what defines a lead measure. Does it predict a better outcome? If I was to take the Wayback Machine or get in a DeLorean and go back in time, what are the things that I could do to make a better result? And again, celebrate major milestones, plan a 90-day celebration meeting after the first 90 days, and recognize top performers. People love to be recognized. Me and you included, Ted. I love to be recognized as making a palatable contribution to wherever I am. So, and to look away to the next 90 days, look ahead to the next 90 days. So to put a few words into takeaway for month 3, Ted, it's about optimization, consistency, and visible results. All right. So really, that's my plan for the first 90 days. I've got 10 activities I'll roll through real quick before we wrap this up to think about lead measures. And here's some of them. Walk around inspections, daily morning huddles, stand-ups, multi-point inspection penetration, and timing. Okay. 4, follow up on deferred services. Oh my God, if I come into your store the next time and you don't make that same recommendation to me, now I felt like you're just trying to sell me something. So number 5, first time fixed focused, obviously. Yep. Number 6, active delivery by advisors. Write these down, guys. Number 7, service to sales handoff. I don't see that happening in practically anywhere. Number 8, parts availability planning. Are you measuring your off-the-shelf fill rate? Are you paying attention to that? Number 9, technician training hours, monthly goals per technician. And number 10, weekly accountability meetings. And I would urge 100% attendance by leaders. So the bedrock of long-term service department success really depends on lead measurements. And accountability is the glue that holds it all together, Ted. So I hope this, pretty rapid succession of 90-day instructions is helpful to you and in your team. And please, it's a focus on progress, not perfection. And these next 90 days are going to be your opportunity to set the tone for 2025.
Some of the best dealers in the country work with John Fairchild. He instructs them. He has a great team. He does a lot of the work personally himself. John, if our audience wants to reach out to you to get 2025 started on the right foot, what's the best way to get in touch with John Fairchild, or if they have questions?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm an open book. I love serving people. I've no obligation at all to just talk to me. Text me, 770-561. There it is right there, 4644. Give me a text. I'm always here for you. I love helping people.
Everybody, the best in the business, John Fairchild, the high performance fixed ops coach, Fairchild Automotive Solutions. Reach out to him. He's on the web. You got the cell phone number there, and you've got the email. John Fairchild with us here today to start the year, the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
My distinct pleasure, Ted. Thank you so much.
3, 2, 1, go.
Bozard Built initiated and working full force. Bozard Built is a go.
DocuPad digital transaction systems online. DocuPad is a go.
ABN network information displays refined and active. Internal messaging is a go.
Mobile Van Fleet expansion secured. Software advancements underway. Remote service team engaged.
21,537 remote ROs closed. Remote operations are a go.
Video multi-point inspection technology sustained. Video MPI is a go.
Microsoft and Azure conversion complete. IT devices activated and safety assured. Systems and IT are a go.
280 merch orders received. Employee swag is a go.
Customer satisfaction rating soaring. CSI excellence is a go.
Over 16 EV chargers installed, grounds maintained, new storage room activated facilities is a go.
33,555 warranty tickets closed. Warranty processing is a go.
4,925 government and fleet vehicles sold. Government and fleet sales is a go.
106,064 main shop ROs closed. Main shop operations are a go.
Parts delivered to Ford Shop, Lincoln Shop, Quick Lane, Accessories Department, and the Remote Operations Center. Countless of parts delivered and installed. Over $1.5 million in parts inventory. Parts department is a go.
Convenience delivered. 2,110 pickups. 1,956 deliveries. Totaling 4,066 seamless service experiences. Pickup and delivery is a go.
187 employees onboarded seamlessly. Employee experience is a go.
More than 2,800 pre-owned vehicles delivered with precision. Used vehicle department is a go.
More than 800 new Lincolns sold. Exceptional experiences delivered. Lincoln sales is a go.
22,197 Quick Lane repair orders completed. Quick Lane is a go.
9,587 vehicles detailed and looking good. Detail and pre-delivery are a go.
Transactions completed. Over 7,524 retail deals posted and thousands of checks issued. Accounting department verified. Accounting is a go.
167,252 calls. Received by the Communications Center. Customer engagement is a go.
More than 3,100 new Fords sold. Sales milestones achieved. Ford sales is a go.
Bozard's 2024 priorities accomplished. The best team on the planet confirmed. All departments are operating and stable. Bozard Ford Lincoln crew readiness confirmed. 2025 preparedness checked and verified. Bozard Ford Lincoln is
3, 2, 1, go.
All systems go.
No one should have to make the drive alone. Learn the power of teams with our next panel filmed live at our Bozard pop-up event.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Vanessa Collins, and we are at Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine, Florida, with our panel today to talk about the power of teams. And Vanessa, one of the great things that Bozard does is it seems to have a team culture throughout the dealership. And I know you and Katrina are a great team as well.
Absolutely. Being here for less than 24 hours, I have definitely seen the power of teams within Bozard Ford Lincoln's dealership. And thank you all for being on this panel with us. And starting with Dan and working our way down, if you would like to just introduce yourself and let us know what you do here at Bozard Ford Lincoln.
Yes, I'm a co-team lead. Technician in the shop.
Awesome.
Josh, I'm Dan's partner, co-team lead in the shop.
My name is Scott Harrington. I am our remote service manager.
Russell Wright, I'm a shop foreman and training coordinator.
And Scott, if I can just elaborate on that, remote services, that includes mobile service. Am I correct about that?
Correct. Yes. We go out to customers' houses, we do your oil changes or anything you need done.
And that's one of the unique things here at Bozard, is that you also work with that team concept on the mobile trucks.
That is absolutely correct. We have to work with everybody at the dealership. I mean, we go out to a customer's house and we're diagnosing something. Let's say it has to come back to the shop. We have to work with the advisors here at the dealership and the technicians here so we get all the correct information so we can take care of that customer vehicle for them.
Well, everybody, let me ask you a little bit more about this teams concept and how you deploy it here at Bozard, because the industry is constantly changing. Mobile and remote services are one of the big changes. Dan, how about teams? How does that come into play in the shop with what you do?
It's a pretty big part between me and Josh. We've been a team for probably 3-4 years now, and it's nice to have somebody to lean on when there's like you going through issues or a speed bump in the road or whatnot.
Now, Josh, are you both a team and work together?
Yeah, so we're team leads of a smaller group, but we're also a team ourselves. So we split everything right down the middle. So we share hours, vacation time. Like we split everything 50-50. So we both have to pull our weight, or the other person's not going to be happy. So it's a good balance.
And if I could ask you about that balance a little bit, do you each have different strengths, and that's how you are on the team, or are you both strong in like one particular area? How does that work?
We balance each other out pretty well. I do a lot of the paperwork. Dan's a heavy diesel guy. I personally hate working on diesels, so it works out. He doesn't like working on 4-cylinder cars. I don't mind it, so we balance each other out pretty well.
And Scott, how does the team concept, if you will, come into play on mobile?
I mean, we all have to work together to make sure we're taking care of our customers and our clients. Every morning we got to work with parts here at the dealership. We got to make sure we have the right parts, so when we do get out to that customer's house, you can take care of their vehicle that same day.
And also, in terms of the shop, you got a big responsibility, Russell. You're overseeing a whole lot of people. I'm hearing and I'm learning more about, and Vanessa are learning about the teams. You've got it set up in several different ways, according to what I hear right now.
Absolutely. And actually, we have a team of 3 shop foremen, so I'm not doing it all by myself. I have 2 other excellent co-workers, and we divvy up the workload just like they do amongst the teams of the technicians themselves. And we each have our strengths and weaknesses and assets and liabilities, and we know what those are, and we work off of that.
Does that help drive? I know Bozard talks a lot about innovation. Okay, does that help drive innovation and success, having people working in teams?
Oh, absolutely, because you're getting different points of view, different points of reference. Everybody brings something different to the table in the way that they work and approach problem. So having those different approaches helps us get to the end game a lot quicker and easier.
Same thing on mobile?
100%. 100%. I have 3 foremen out in the field for us too that help me out with daily stuff.
You're kidding?
That is correct. Yes, I need that with the 50 techs we have now. So,
and that mobile operation is expanding greatly. It's one of the things, obviously, that we're highlighting this week at Bozard Ford Lincoln. But speak to us a little bit about that. Why you have more than one person in the truck? I know things could happen, such as spills and things like that, and maybe you have to have somebody certified also.
Correct. Yeah. So right now we actually, the majority of our vans are solo riders. There's just one person in each van, and there is the occasional incident, spilling a fluid or something like that. But, we have a great connection with people to come out and help fix that stuff. If we do that, take care of that customer's driveway, if that's the case.
Yeah. So anyone can kind of bite at this question first, but how do you maintain team cohesion and motivation in your day-to-day operations here at Bozard Ford Lincoln?
Communication.
Communication?
Every month with our techs, because they are mobile, they're out driving around every day, so we don't necessarily see everybody every single day. So we make it a priority to have that daily huddle meeting in the morning with everybody.
Okay.
And then every month we meet with everybody at our location.
That's awesome.
Let's ask our folks who are the techs. Your thoughts?
We kind of just rely on each other. We have the same goals. We both want the same thing, so we know that we need to come in every day and get it done. So we just lean on each other. Hopefully we're not both having a bad day. It usually balances out to where if one person's stuck on something, the other person can be turning the hours for them. But
for sure,
it works out. We just have the same goal.
Yeah.
We try to keep things fun, so that way it's not just a robotic thing.
Oh, for sure.
So that way it's not just straight work all the time. I gotta have a little fun with it.
Yeah, very important to have that balance.
You know, Bo and Letti Bozard were on a panel a little bit earlier today, and they talked about the importance of allowing new ideas to come up, especially from folks who might be newer employees, people who haven't been in the business, and encouraging those thoughts. I'm curious for all of you, what role does that team culture or diversity play in generating unique ideas and perspectives? You know, I'll start with Russell. What do you see in the shop? Because you've got a lot of people you're overseeing there, even in your team.
Well, they actually, we feed off of each other. So getting the ideas from the young people kind of buffers against some of the more rigid attitudes of the older people that have been in it for a while, and then we find a happy medium that works, and it may even help us invent a new approach to a particular process or problem.
Well, I like it.
I mean, I think one of the biggest things, and it's one of the things I'm going to focus on in 2025, is seeing what we can actually do with remote services. You know, we're going to see if we can do more than just oil changes, tire rotations, and diagnostics. You know, we're going to see what levels of work we can do out in the field, and using experienced techs like Josh and Dan to really solidify what we can do out in the field. What we can't do is going to be a big part of changing the industry in mobile service.
And Josh and then Dan, do the teams ever change at all or change up? You know, will you make some?
They change a fair amount, at least once a year, most of the time, multiple times a year. You know, we have the BTI program, you know, they're getting guys trained up, and those guys are going to be coming to the shop, so it's going to completely change the dynamic of the teams. Some people get into it, realize they want to try being an advisor or something like that, so they leave and somebody else comes in the team. Scott was actually on our team when he first started at the dealership and decided to move, become an advisor, and now is the remote services manager. So it's constantly changing.
Oh. And Dan, your thoughts on that?
The management's open to like new ideas, so if you ever want to present it to them, they're open to it. Like we presented them a 4-day work week a while ago. We've been on that for almost 2 years now, so they're not against new ideas.
Josh, does it help having leadership here at Bozard Ford Lincoln that has been and understands fixed operations, you know, helping to lead the team?
Yeah, the experience of our leadership team is great. I mean, Ed was a tech. Matt worked on cars in the military. Chris was a tech in the shop. Like, it's great to have the knowledge of what we actually go through every day versus just, you know, somebody that's been an advisor their entire career or just a manager in a different industry and come over. Like, they understand our daily struggles. So when we come to them with them, you know, they can help.
Okay. And one final question, I'll put this out to anybody who'd like to answer it. What would you say to your peers who are watching today, who are in the industry? Would you recommend the team structure, the team concept? You know, because again, it's not at every dealership that's doing something like this. What are your thoughts there?
We're stronger as a group than we are as individuals.
We are the best team on the planet.
B-Top, best team on the planet. I like that.
I definitely recommend if you can find the right person to team up with, it helps a lot.
Want to bring it home, Dan?
He kind of stole that from me. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's definitely hard to find somebody that meshes with you perfectly, but if you can find that person, it's definitely worth it.
All right, everybody, the power of teams is very visible. Vanessa Collins and I are here at Bozard Ford Lincoln. We're in St. Augustine, Florida, with the best team on the planet, and we will be right back. Clear. All right.
Go.
Okay, how would you like to pay? Card, cash, or check?
I will do a card.
Okay, thank you very much. And will you sign right here?
Sure.
Okay, have a great day.
Great, thank you.
Introducing Dealer Pay Moves, Dealer Pay's new mobile application for dealerships on the move. It's really great because all you have to do is search for your repair order. It's then going to search whichever DMS that the dealership is connected to. As you can see, it's going to pull up that customer record in that open repair order. I'm simply going to select it. Now you've got all your customer details here, including the surcharge amount if it were to be applied with a credit card. I've got options to pay by credit debit. I can key enter the transaction. I can use a paper check or even report cash. I can even add transactions in here so I can do some real-time voids and refunds. Dealer Pay Moves is a great solution for your dealership to stay relevant and mobile.
We want to make it so that every automotive dealer can use AI natively and effectively to enhance the abilities of your employees to do their job. When we look at the ROI, one of the things that we know is that if you can communicate to a customer on a missed phone call in 15 minutes or less, that drives up profitability and customer satisfaction. So not only does our AI engage that customer on a missed phone call, it also creates a workflow for the employees to get back to the customers with predictive intelligence about what they need to provide to the customer to handle the situation as it arises.
Thread together your next big trip with David O'Brien from Woven Solutions.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Dave O'Brien is with us, friend of the dealer, friend of the retailer, friend of fixed operations. Dave, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Ted, can't thank you enough. What a great week to be doing this. It's got to give you fun memories of the first time you did it, right?
Yes, it does. It's a little different now, but
Yeah.
you know, same industry, which Dave continues to get more and more interesting. What a great time to be in retail automotive, Dave O'Brien.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, when you think about that, we're reading articles about how well Hyundai and Amazon are doing together. You know, it was a year and a half ago, you and I and Andy Wright were doing sessions about that, talking about it. When you think about all the things, you know, take what the guys at UV are doing with cameras on service drives, so that we don't have to slow down to check for door dings and damage anymore. I mean, it's just moving at such a fast pace, and it's all really good for fixed ops.
They were just here a few hours ago, and they're doing some interesting things, not just in fixed now, but all throughout the dealership with that MRI, okay, if you will, type device that they've developed for automotive. So, Dave, let's catch up. Let's find out what you've been up to and what you have ahead here. What's going on?
Well, you know, I continue to just love serving as our board chairman for Quantum. You know, we didn't make a loud noise about it when I made the transition. I love being that company's co-founder. I love the great work that it's doing. I've been so impacted by the talent, the creative people in that organization. But as I sat as its board chairman for the last 6 months, Ted, you know, heck, I probably called you a couple of times saying I was bored. And like any good entrepreneur and founder, you know, it was not going to be very long before I figured out something to do. And so today I'm blessed that you invited me to be here and talk about what Woven Solutions is going to do. I'll tell you quickly where the name comes from, because everybody always goes, okay, what's the deal with Woven?
Yes,
you know, my wife and I learned in a marriage prep class that we were teaching one time, the concept of woven, you know, and it said that, you know, if you got married and you only single stitched it together, that the seam would tear really easily. And I thought, well, yeah, I guess that could happen. But then they gave us a piece of fabric and they taught us how to teach these young couples that if you weave it together, you can pull one string, you can pull on an edge, you can pull two edges, and it doesn't come apart because there was so much more thought about how it was put together. And so really this was a chance for me to go back to my roots, Ted, right? It was where I really spent a lot of time in automotive was on that behavioral psychology side of how do we find the right A players, not just find them, how do we make sure they're in the right seat on the bus in an organization? From there, what I've watched happen now for the last decade is how are we going to create a culture of onboarding? And what I mean by that is how do we create this onboarding culture that thrives and goes longer than days or weeks? How do we make it part of helping new people integrate into our organization that just keeps embracing them? And lastly, you've heard me talk about this before, Ted. I have this nonstop passion for creating a coaching culture in a business. And that coaching culture has to help people who've come into that onboarding environment. And now we're going to help them develop. We're going to help them grow. They're going to be our future leaders. They're going to be leaders at the level they're at. And so this was a chance for me to take the concept of woven, weave three things together that strengthens the people side of any dealer's organization. And that's what I built, and that's what I'm excited to work on, along with a little book I can probably tell you about. I'm almost finished with.
All right. So Woven Solutions out now. I see a website, fixtheresults.com, fixtheresults.com. So Dave, this is the latest from the entrepreneur who has brought us so much in mentoring and coaching, and as you say, the great need for onboarding and building great teams.
Well, I've had this fix the results strategy for a long time, Ted, and I figure you can't have a website or a theory called keep the bad results or stick with mediocre, right? So fix the results is all part of that approach that says, why do we just look at results we don't like? Why don't we take the action steps? Another way to think of it is really the title of the book, which is called Run Toward the Fire. And if you run toward a fire, Ted, you can put it out. If you stand still and watch it, well, bad things happen. And, it's a strange time in our world to be talking about fire, considering the heartbreak going on for all our clients, all our friends, all the folks who contribute to this show, right, over in California. And, so we wouldn't want to mistake the thought process of those guys aren't running towards the fire. But in business and family and relationships, it's just so critical that if you don't like the result you're getting, you have to be able to take an action plan and go, how am I going to change it? Why am I not taking the steps? And really, that's what the book is all about. That's what our leadership focus will be at Woven, is helping people really work through those challenges around that.
So Dave, working with dealers and working with them, I would imagine throughout the dealership, including fixed ops?
Absolutely. We have to work with the whole team in the dealership. I did my first sessions last week for about 50 people in Ohio. And we had everybody from body shop leaders. We had fixed ops leaders there, met some great people across fixed ops and across the variable side of the business. But really, I spent some of my time, Ted, on this concept, and they really, really dug it, which was the psychology of hesitation. Well, you're a parent, so this makes sense to you, right? Sometimes we watch our kids hesitate to take action, and we think, well, they're just young. They're getting their feet under them. They're gaining their experience. But yet, how come we watch people in business sometimes? They go, all right, I see one of my advisors not doing this well, or they're not doing this well. Why don't we run toward that? Why don't we go solve it? Why don't we create new results for the good of that person and the good of the dealership? And I think we have to embrace a different way of working through hesitation. We can't just say, it's just not how I am, right? We have to be able to work through that hesitation, to be able to take action for the betterment of our customers, ourselves, and our business.
Great time in our industry, Dave, for this.
Yeah.
So it sounds that you were on site, okay, delivering this. So will this be Woven Solutions, something that the coaching it's done physically, or will you also be doing this remotely? Tell us a little bit how it's going to work.
Yeah, Ted, we're going to take a real blended approach, right?
Yeah.
There are going to be clients that absolutely say, Dave, get on an airplane. And as strange as this sounds, I really missed my time in the learning environment. I really missed being in the room.
You're really great at it, Dave, too, by the way. So
it's my favorite place to be. I'm like you. I gather energy as I see people growing. And so to be in a room for 2 days with folks really gives me energy. And it helps me tap into the things that are really happening out in the retail dealership world. At the same time, there are going to be other clients who say, look, maybe do this a little bit virtually and spread it out over time, and we'll deliver virtual sessions. We'll also have a dedicated channel where people can go to on YouTube where they can catch up on things if they want as well, use them for meetings and use them for refreshers. So we're going to take a real blended approach to it and give people lots of flexibility in the way they do it.
And Dave, thank you. By the
Go
way, if before I forget, thank you for lifting so many people up through what you do in our industry. So many people in our industry who have careers and have had careers in retail, have now come over to the coaching side and learned so much from Dave O'Brien and your approach and your methodology. So I could say that from the heart. I appreciate all that you do.
No, I got to tell you, I try not to talk about it a lot, Ted, right? But darn it, I love the people I've been able to pour into. We're going to have a podcast that comes out real soon, and you're going to get to see some of the people that I've been able to pour into. And when I hear them tell me how it impacted them, I guess I realize more now. But here's the deal, Ted, for me, right? You remember my dad was a car dealer. So for me, my motivation, and to anybody listening that needs a coach, right? It doesn't cost $1 if you saw me on TED Ings. Just call me, right? Just send me an email. You need somebody to help you through this. Growing up with a dad who was a car dealer, he was always focused on telling me, we got to keep learning, we got to keep growing. And I just got to tell you, I made a decision in the year 2005. It was right after my dad died. And it was actually at his funeral. And my dad had only recently moved to Arizona, Ted, and over 300 people came to his funeral.
Wow.
And I was just knocked out, right? I thought, my dad only been here 2 years. How did he meet all these people? And all these people are here for my dad. And so my dedication to our industry and my dedication to helping people who need help, and that includes our audience here today, is you need somebody to come beside you. You need somebody to talk to. You need somebody to talk about, how am I going to get my general manager to listen to my plan? How am I going to get my dealer to listen to my plan? Or you're a GM or a dealer and you're going, how do I talk to my service director so that they will help me understand and I can work with them better, right? I'm your guy. It has been my passion. It has been my study. It has been my care for people that ends up letting me do the things that I've done in previous companies and lets me do what I do with Woven today. And I think that's something we all got to give back as we get more senior or seasoned. Seasoned's a better word, isn't it?
Seasoned. Okay.
Seasoned in this business. I love how John Traver's done it. And, there's just some real heroes in my life watching them do it. Ed Roberts does it so well. He'll give to anybody. He'll help anybody. And I'm super glad to be part of that group that gets to hang out with you, that gets to help anybody who needs it in a dealership.
Dave, we're not just seasoned. We're, as someone mentioned it to me the other day, we're almost like vintage as well. Looking for kind words. But
well, speaking of vintage, this is the same week that we're doing this, is the same week of the Barrett Jackson Classic Car Auction, right? Yeah. And so I'll be recording that during NADA so that I can see all those vintage cars. And Meekum is going on in Florida as well more vintage stuff going on all the time. So I don't think I mind vintage. Does it bother you?
No, at this point, it doesn't bother me. Maybe a few years ago, but today, no.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dave, if our audience wants to reach out to Dave O'Brien, and I know you know so many people, what is the best way now? What's the best? I see a new email scrolling at the bottom of the URL.
Yeah, it's DOB, just like always, right? Date of birth or Dave O'Brien, either way you want to remember it. And so it's DOB at fixtheresults.com. And look, seriously, anybody that needs help getting their career going, anybody that needs help, as I said, with the people in their environment. I'm not your guy to go straighten out the financial statement, but if you're having people challenges in your business, whether it's acquiring them, whether it's growing them, whether it's retaining them, it has been my love for the last 25 years of the car business. And I'll do it for anybody that needs help, and they don't have to worry about anything.
All right. Dave O'Brien, one of the greats in our industry, Woven Solutions, fixtheresults.com. You can reach out to Dave at DOB at fixtheresults.com. Dave, as always, thank you for all you do for the industry. I'm looking forward to hearing what's next and, coming with alongside you, as John Traver would say, for the next steps. So,
and let me just say thank you to you and Sarah and everybody on the Fixed Ops Roundtable team. You guys continue to do incredible work for the industry. I made sure and tell everybody last week that I was with to make sure they registered. So I hope they're here this week and benefiting from this group. Thank you for collecting all of us and letting us pay back to this great business.
Hey, it's a great community, Dave. So
yes, sir.
So Dave O'Brien, everybody from Woven Solutions, fixtheresults.com, here with us today in the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Vintage Dave.
Welcome to the all-new BusyCar. Recalls made easy. What does your recall process look like today? Do you rely on the reactive mix of mailers, emails, and calls that your service advisors catch them as they come into the service drive? Tomorrow's proactive process looks much different. With automation leading the way via texts, a mix of live outreach, and advanced appointment scanning. Here's how the BusyCar process works. Step 1. Get the data directly from your manufacturer. Then integrate with your DMS and scheduling software. Add in a mix of BusyCar's own proprietary data along with AI-powered website scanning, and voila, it's on step 2. Now it's time to identify which VINs have open recalls on them and help you in 3 different categories. Consumers, fleet, and B2B, which consists of the other franchise and used car lots in your PMA. Slide on into step 3. Here comes the automation. BusyCar has a very robust, smart-driven texting platform that automatically helps reduce no-shows and give your customers their preferred method of communication. Now you're getting somewhere. Step 4 is all you. We schedule according to your preferences. You complete the job checking. Little to no effort on your part and guaranteed ROI on our part. Call or email to schedule your BusyCar demo today.
Fuel, check. Map, check. Road trip snacks, double check. We are all systems go for our next panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Ted Ings with Sarah Van Tyne. We are here in St. Augustine, Florida at Bozard Ford Lincoln with the leadership team. And Sarah, we've been looking forward to this panel and this event for a long time.
This is an incredible honor to be sitting with Letti and Bo here at Bozard Ford Lincoln. And it's just an incredible opportunity for us to get to see all of the amazing things that are going on at this dealership.
Well, this was a great event the last time you were here. We're glad you guys are back.
Well, Letti, I would love to start with you. How does Bozard really ensure operational excellence across all of the departments?
That is getting harder and harder these days, I think, for all dealerships, right? We all have so much on our plates, literally everything from facilities projects and technology projects and trying to make sure we're doing the right thing to create great teams and all of that. So for us, it's communication. It's continuing to find ways that we can communicate better. I know for us going into next year, that is our entire focus, is to make sure that all of the departments are communicating in the cadence that they need to be communicating. That's something that, as we've grown, has become a little harder for us. When you're 200 people and then all of a sudden you're 450 people, communication styles, communication cadence has to change. So that's something that we're really working on to make sure that we're departmentally working together, because at the end of the day, the ownership experience of our customers is what we're striving for, right? And it does take all the departments, even though during the day for us work-wise, we might only be wearing the hat that we're wearing. But we've got to work together to be able to give the customer the experience that they're looking for.
And Bo, your thoughts as far as ensuring operational excellence this year. What's your perspective on how all of the departments are going to be working together?
So one of the things that we have started to do over the last couple years is we take all of the managers out of the store for 2 days at the beginning of December, and together as a larger group, rather than it just be me and Letti and Jeff as like kind of the executive level, we come up with our operational priorities for the year all together in a group. So I think that it's a nice head start to getting everybody walking and marching in the same direction when you all have the buy-in on what you're going to prioritize for the next year. When you create that list together, you get 2 days to vet them all out so that everybody in the room from all of the departments can understand why they're important and how they affect the success of the whole. It's a big important thing to us, and it's important to us to like I say, take 50 managers out of the store for an offsite meeting.
And it does speak to your culture. Letti, I've told many people who said they haven't been to Bozard Ford yet. Many are here with us today, have come in. I said, you know what? Give yourself some time, because there's a lot here to digest. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that and the culture that you and Bo have helped build?
It's something that we're really, really proud of, but we're also really, really aware, I know I speak for him when I say this, that it's not us that has created it. It is that collaboration of this whole team, and especially as it has grown, and figuring out a way that as we add people to bring them into the culture as quickly as possible, so that they can continually be contributing to it, because that's really what you guys are feeling when we make comments like that to people. Oh, when you come, you're going to kind of feel this culture. It's the everyone doing it at the same time is what you're feeling when you come in here. And you guys have gotten to meet a lot of our folks, which I think is really cool. And I think you probably would say you're feeling that same type of thing, no matter what department you're working with or talking to on a panel. You're kind of feeling that same thing, because they're actually the ones that are doing it. So.
And Bo, how does all this play into the theme for the new year? All systems go. All right.
We have spent the last 4 or 5 years. Really, again, I'm going to back up a little bit. We've got some core tenets at the dealership, and the very, very first one is innovation. And we've spent the last 4 or 5 years coming up with some ideas that we think are going to set us apart and drive us into the future, and hopefully mold the way car sales and services is done. We've spent the time developing them, and the the fact is they're built now. They're ready. And it's time for us to use them. So it's all systems go. There's no more figuring out. There's no more, testing. We've done the testing. It's time to move forward. So it was the theme of our leadership offsite, and they get everybody on the same page to plow forward and run all next year.
And Bo, another thing that stands out, if I may ask you, and then follow up with Letti, you at Bozard are not afraid to try new things, okay? And to go ahead and implement them and tweak them and find out what needs to happen to make them work. If you want to speak to some of that, because your organization stands out, certainly in that category.
There's a tendency, I think, in our industry to be fairly conservative with free thought, and we get kind of scared. We become slave to that last line on the financial statement. And I personally, I just think it's a mistake. Like I said, we have core tenets. The very, very first one is innovation. It's not the first one if it's not the chief thing that we strive for. So we've just made a concerted effort as a leadership team, and then we push down that information with the willingness and the empowerment to our folks to try it out. Try it out. I'm not generally speaking a scared person. So we're big enough where we've got the flexibility to try and fail. There's nothing wrong with it, but we're not a tiny store where one mistake could cripple you. So we've got the breadth to be able to try, fail, but we've got a pretty good track record, with stuff working. So it's been a good gamble.
Letti, you do empower people. That does stand out.
Yeah, it's really cool to take the concept for our dealership. Obviously, family owned. We're brother and sister. We have children. Potentially multiple generations beyond us. Even we'll see. But it's really cool to have a team that's willing to get on board with the innovation and bringing their ideas to the table, letting us give some feedback, or if we have an idea, they'll give the feedback. We kind of cross that line, the hierarchical line, a lot in the conversations when it comes to innovation. But it's really cool to let our team give some things a try, because, man, who knows that, somebody that's been in the car business for a year might have the best idea of the year, and if you don't ever let them speak up and have a safe space to share some of those ideas, think of what we would miss out on.
And I think it's to piggyback off of it again. I realized that it was your turn. It was my turn first, and it was your turn. Right. But I think it is important to, as often as you can, push down the authority to where the information is. It would be foolish of me to walk into this sales department and try to tell a salesman how they should manage their follow-up process, or I don't need to go in and talk to an advisor about what they should be doing different on their workflow. I don't have as much information. So for me to sit in there and try to micromanage it would be an enormous mistake. And sometimes dealer principals and general managers want to cling on to as much authority as they can, but they don't have enough information to really succeed. You need to let the decisions be made by the people who have the most information about the subject matter.
I do think, though, that's where the communication is so important, though, because if you're going to choose to do that, that team they have to understand the importance of communicating that back up so that we do stay on the same page, right? Because we can empower them to go and build processes or think outside the box, and then inadvertently, if they haven't communicated that back up to us and we haven't aligned to it, we can come back in and undermine, the work that we've actually asked them to do. So the communication has to go both directions.
It can't just flow down. It can't just flow down.
Well, and thinking about innovation and then that serving mindset, I mean, those are just such great words for this 2025 year. What final thoughts would you suggest, for dealerships or others listening this year? What would you say is the most important thing to be focusing on?
I think getting out ahead, like I mentioned, the ownership experience, instead of just looking at your customer as what the processes are going to feel like and the experience they're going to have buying a car or specifically what they're going to go through or what they're going to experience at your dealership, servicing their car, leasing a car, vendor relationships, whatever they are. But trying to look at the ownership experience for your customers as a whole, and then going into your departments and saying, okay, what part do you play in that, and what part do you play in that, and how do we get the communication right? So we're handing off information. I know you guys talk a lot about mobile. That's something that's on our plate right now, the communication between our main shops and mobile when we have to send those vehicles back and forth. The customer needs to feel that that's very smooth, and we have to figure it out on the backside. So, I think ownership experience for us is a really big one.
Bo, any final thoughts?
I can't say it any better than that.
Well, everybody, on behalf of Teddings, and this is an incredible organization. Thank you so much for allowing the Fixed Ops Roundtable to be part of this special day here at Bozard Ford Lincoln.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Everyone, stay tuned. Teddings and I will be right back.
All right. I was like, does he tell us?
Hey everyone, Sarah Vantine here. I've got the coolest thing to show you today. I don't know if you're like me, but whenever I go to places, I'm not very good at keeping track of people's business cards. It's kind of laborious for me to get all that information imported into my phone, and I'm also pretty bad about sticking business cards in my pocket and having them fall out as I'm going about the rest of my day. Well, I just got this card in the mail, and let me tell you, this is so cool. This is the Capital One Muse card. It comes in this sleeve, but when you pull it out, it is solid metal, and it has some of the coolest technology embedded in the card. If you want to share your contact details with someone, all you do is tap this part of the card onto their phone, and it pulls up a unique URL right there on their screen that can help get your contact information and their information into your dealership's CRM and Dealer Navigator. They can also quickly access your dealership's inventory and even get pre-approved right there from the link. The other cool feature is that it gives your customers a way to save your contact details right in their phone at the touch of a button, and that prevents them from losing your business card because all they do is click save on the contact information, and that's it. It makes things super easy for your customer, and you only have to hold on to this one business card, and this is not going to get bent or messed up looking. It's solid metal. It's fantastic. If you want more details on the Capital One Muse card, I'll drop a link to learn more right in the comments, or you can visit CapitalOne.com and check out the Auto Financing Dealer tab.
These speakers are no rookies behind the wheel. Up next, we've got the Young Techs panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This is the Young Technician panel. A lot of fan favorites on here throughout the industry. A lot of superstars. Jim Sabino from All American Ford in Chile, Northern New Jersey, is with us. Richard Lupo, who's the Fixed Ops Director at Apple Tree Honda and Acura, in Asheville, North Carolina, is with us. Our good friend Jeremy Stevens is with us from Bozard Ford Lincoln with Josh Woodleaf, and of course, Sean Kingery, balmy Madison, Wisconsin area at the Kaiser Automotive Group with Steve Buna. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Welcome. We're wearing shorts, by the way. I'd like to share that. It's January and we're wearing shorts.
I think that's about the Wisconsin there, but
we got to 10 degrees. It's a heat wave.
Jeremy, we spent some time at Bozard Ford Lincoln just last month. Very impressive to see your team and to see everything you've got going there. Congratulations to you. And what are your thoughts today on the panel and some things we need to discuss?
No, well, we were excited to have you up here a couple weeks ago. It's a lot colder. It's not y'all's cold, but it's cold for Florida people. It was 40 this morning, so it was hurting. But you know, we started this panel 2 years ago, and we just would like to keep it going and just kind of get some new ideas and fresh ideas for everybody. You know, see where everybody are with their young technicians. And I know we have two here on the call right now, and just kind of want to start off maybe with Stephen and Josh. You know, where were you at before you started working on? You know, what did you start off as your career, and how did you end up at the dealership? So, Stephen, do you want to take that one first?
I've kind of been a dealership guy since I got into the business. I never really had a whole lot of drive for like an aftermarket shop. I've worked at like a Toyota dealer when I was young. I was doing, oil changes. Buddy worked at a Ford dealer, or he got a job at a Ford dealer, and a couple months later he said, "Hey, you should come over and come work with us." So I was like, okay, whatever. They're going to offer me $3-4 more an hour. I was 18, 19 years old. Think, cool. Yeah, I'll go make some more money. And yeah, I was over there for a while, just quick laning it. And I ended up at another dealer because they wanted to pay me more money. So, I rode that pay me more train for a couple of years and ended up here. And I've been happy here for sure. Like I'm off of that pay me more train, and I'm settling now. Well, I shouldn't say settling, but I've grown roots, and this is kind of where I've set myself. So
Steve, you got the evil eye there from Sean Kingery.
Yeah.
Steve,
well, I decided to settle with this guy.
Steve's about to get married. Steve can't settle on anything. But anyway, yeah.
Hey, Stephen, did you go to any tech school or college or anything?
Yeah, I went to the Madison Area Tech College here. They have an auto program. They've got a diesel program, a body shop program. Like they're kind of a big trade school in our area. So I went through the 2-year program with that. Loved it. I was quick laning while I was at school, so I was still able to work a little bit. And it was kind of nice to be able to go from school and apply some of the stuff. Mind you, at work, I was doing pretty basic stuff in quick lane, but at school, we're learning how to do transmissions. We're learning about engines. We're learning hybrids, stuff like that. And it was a good base because at school, they can't teach you everything about Acuras. They can't teach you everything about Fords or Dodges. So they got to kind of give you a blanket, and then they let you discover what you like on your own. And honestly, I think that's kind of what dealerships should be pushing more of. I know we tried to get kids right out of high school, but I think those kids are a little young. They don't really know what they want to do yet. You wait till the kid's 20, 21. Now he kind of has a little bit more responsibility. He's got to kind of fend for himself a little bit more. And he kind of knows what he wants to do. When you're 18 years old, you can change your mind 17 times in a week and nobody's going to bat an eye, but Sean's not going to go and be a biochemist next year by any means. He knew what he likes. He went after it and stuck with it, kind of thing. So I think that's like having the young kids in there is great, but you got to have kids that are willing to stay in the business versus trying to get all these 18-year-olds fresh out of high school. Oh, we're going to get them in. They're going to be here for 30 years. Maybe 5% of those kids. But you go into the tech schools and you can probably get half of those kids to be 10-year plus technicians. Some kids fall off just like in every other type of business, but yeah, I think that schooling is important, and especially at dealerships, they don't really care about ASEs as much as they used to 10, 15 years ago. Dealers would say, "Oh yeah, we want you to go and get master ASE certified." Now you walk into a dealership, and if I came down into Bozard Ford and I said, "I'm certified transmissions, I'm certified hybrids, I'm certified EV," you're going, "Perfect, let's see it." But if I come in and I say, "Well, I've got Acura certifications for engines and I've got ASEs," that might not look as good to you guys as someone coming in with Ford EV certifications that you need to have a certain number of EV techs to qualify, that's worth more than an ASC is.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Stephen. So what about you, Josh?
I mean, I've only been in this business for a short time, been here for a year. Before that, I was over at Hyundai, that's not too far down the road, for a couple months while I finished up school. And I was at trade school from January 22. No, yeah, 22 for until like August, September, around there. So I'm still very new to all of this, but it's not something that was very daunting to me. It just kind of made sense. And then the more I did with it, kept learning, growing as myself, growing in this industry, definitely helps seeing there's places where you can go or you can stay somewhere and then grow and become something else. And having that background with school as a building platform, a nice foundation to then go somewhere, is definitely a big help, I'd say.
Well, cool. All right, so I'm going to go around the room because I'm curious, because I know a lot of you guys, but the audience may not. So, Jim, how old were you when you started the dealership, and what was your first job in the dealership?
I was 19 years old. I started that as a technician and an Oldsmobile dealership, and I've been in it ever since. I've been in the dealership world ever since. And I love it. My dad was in it. He was a sales manager, a general manager, and I jumped into the back end, and I just fell in love with the back, and I've been here ever since. So I've gone, through the years, through a couple of different dealerships, starting back in, Oldsmobile with General Motors, and then I ended up with a Ford dealership, and then a couple of Lincoln dealerships, and I've been at my current position and my current dealership for 24 years now. And going really well, seen the good, the bad, the ugly, the great times in the car business, the tough times in the car business, the okay, the sad, and and the great times. I've seen so many people that I've been in contact with, that I've worked with for many, many years. Some have retired and moved on. Some are still actively working. Keep in touch with them, guys from New York, Long Island, that moved away down to the Carolinas, down to Florida. And it's great. So I've worked my way up. I a service manager, a service writer, what they used to call them assistant service managers back then, retired. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, would you like to give this a shot? I like the way you talk to people. You got a good personality." And I'm like, I wasn't really thinking about it, but I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I turned in my wrench for a pen and got bit by the bug and worked my way up and just service advisor and meeting people and working with the technicians on a different level versus being one of them, working alongside with them, working on cars, to, maintaining them, to selling needed work. And everything was handwritten. There was no computers. We wrote up all the hand air orders, and everything was done by pen and pencil. And then, we started automating and it's been great. I've come across a lot of great people in this business, and I love it. I just one of the best decisions I ever made was to stick with it. And I wouldn't, if I had to do it again, I'd do the same thing over again.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jim.
Sure.
Richard, how about you? What's your story?
I didn't have much of a choice. I was born into the business. My family had a independent repair shop from the day I was born. So it's been a journey of starting as a technician. My first dealership that I worked in was 18 years old, and I went to work at the oldest Plymouth dealer in the United States as a technician. And we vacillated a little bit between the aftermarket, back and forth a couple of times. I actually ended up owning a Midas franchise for a while. Did some stuff, had some gas stations along the way, towing, whatnot, but made a hard line in the sand to just commit to being in the dealer in the early 2000s, and haven't looked back. I spent a lot of years turning wrenches, in the family business, and then as a flat rate tech, and cut my teeth in and out of the aftermarket and dealerships for the first few years. But Got my first shot as a service manager. We were in a really small dealership, and we had to have a night crew. So I was the kind of a technician / manager at the night, and then that grew into a evening service manager, and then we built a new facility, and then I was the express service manager, and I think things crashed out in 2008, and I got put on the street, and because I was a young guy, a little guy on the totem pole, and got back into another dealership, and yeah, it's been quite the ride, and wonderful people and great experiences the whole way through. So you younger guys, stick with it. It's rewarding. And it's been the best thing, just like Jim. It's been the best decision I ever made to make that hard choice or that hard line in the sand and just stick with it and do it. And it's been amazing.
That's awesome. All right, Sean, what's your story?
Yeah, easy Reader's Digest version for me. I've told the story 100 times. I was in the Marine Corps, shut my foot in an aircraft hangar door, spent 26 months in the cast. Excuse me. I was in Boone, Iowa, getting my oil changed at a car dealership, and some guy came and sat next to me and asked me what I was going to do for a living, and I told him I didn't know. And he said, well, come work for me. And I literally looked at him. I asked him if he sold Amway. And he said, no, I own this place. And he was the dealer principal. And that was, as of April, be 31 years ago. So spent 3 years as a GM on the front side. I'm not a front-end guy. I'm a back-end guy. NADA graduate twice over now. Again, as you guys said, once the fixed ops is in your blood, you're kind of screwed. I mean, it just is what it is. It becomes your gig. No, it does. It becomes your gig. So, and Jeremy, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a question, because before we got on here, Steve and I were going back and forth on something. And as much as Steve and I give each other a lot of banter and text messages, and he's a younger tech who I love dearly, Steve's trying to learn, like we're looking at NCM books here and numbers. And we're losing a technician, by the way, that's going to a competitor. And by the way, not a bad competitor. We have a bad one in town, but it's not a bad competitor. But Steve goes, how can you afford to lose him to go somewhere for $8 more an hour and they're going to pay him hourly? And I'm trying to explain to Steve that, well, they're okay at the lower margin. They're okay at the hourly thing. But you also sometimes got to step back and look in the mirror. And there was a recruiter once at NADA told me 3 years ago about paying guarantees, because I hate the word guarantee. I think guarantee is the worst word in the car business. But is hourly the new future? Is that, before we started on the panel, Jeremy, you were talking about new technicians, and we talk about what you got to do to keep them and not lose them. Guys, we all think flat rate's the way, because we've seen those technicians make 100, 150, 200 grand a year on flat rate. As for those that know me in Florida, I had 7 technicians that made 200 grand a year on flat rate, but they also worked 7 days a week. All right. That was their deal. They were the breadwinner for the family. But the Steve generation, I'm not picking on Steve because he's sitting here, they're not those people. They're not going to work 7 days a week. They're not going to ask for keys to the dealership and be there at 4 in the morning and stay till 10 o'clock at night. So my question is hourly our future? I mean, is salary or whatever the case is. There's a 20 group I'm in, a big 420 group. I've got a dealership in Chicago that's talking about renting their tech's bays to them, like a barbershop chair, because it's a different business model. So again, Jeremy, it's your panel, brother. I'm not trying to take it over. I'm just asking, because Steve and I were going back and forth on it, and as much fun as we have about it, it's really a legit question. How do you afford to lose a tech? And by the way, how the heck are they paying them $8 more an hour than we are?
Because we're only paying them 20 some bucks an hour anyway. He's a quick lane kid.
Yeah.
So you're going to give him a 50% bonus to go and do the same job 20 minutes away.
I have some that I can contribute to that a little bit, if you don't mind, Jeremy.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a entry-level technician training program, and we invest and subsidize for probably almost the first 2 years while we're bringing the technicians along. So they start out at just hourly. We give them a little bonus for production efficiency for the team on a team basis because they're an express. And And as we graduate them through an apprentice with our, with a shop foreman, mentoring with a master technician, we subsidize them the whole way along the way. And for the last 6 months leading up to becoming a flat rate technician, we flag them, we track their productivity, we talk to them about flat rate. And the day that they become a flat rate technician is very anticlimactic because they're already turning 40, 50 hours. And they're already a flat rate technician with some type of a safety net and a guarantee. And we get them right up to the point of almost 2 years into the program. And then when they get going, they turn into little capitalists pretty fast. They start making money. And so we see a good return from, which almost a 2-year program from an hourly transitioning them into flat rate, but a lot of very high retention rate and a lot of job satisfaction.
Yeah, for sure. And what we're seeing is there's no silver bullet on this. We have a lot of young technicians here, and I've been a lot of old school, so I had to back off because I think that flat rate was the only way, because it's like, why wouldn't you want to make a lot of money? But a lot of people like having their days off. They're not a workhorse, but they're great people. And I thought it was the younger generation, but I got a 20-year-old technician that he loves to make hours. He don't like to talk to people. The only thing he likes to hear is his ratchet. And he likes to make hours, and that's how he's wired. But not everybody is wired that way. So it's almost like you got to be, if you want to recruit technicians and great people, you kind of got to be flexible. Because if you look around, when I started in the industry, when I was 17, it was like $7.50 an hour, and that's what you got paid. But now a lot of these places are paying $17, $18, $19 an hour for jobs that used to cost us $12. And Jim, you're way up. Yeah, you're saying
more.
Yeah. So it always depends on the person on that side. And I wish there was a easy answer, but it's not.
There's not a one size fits all for any of it. We just, we know what works for us, or what has proven to be successful, at least currently. But I'd be honest with you, one of the things that we have to do during the interview process is undo some of the damage that's been done. So we've got, an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that went into a shop, came out of tech school or didn't go to tech school, and got thrown into flat rate after 90 days and has been to 2 or 3 dealerships and has failed, but thinks they're a technician, and then we have to say, listen, we've got a program. We're going to back you up. We're going to, you're going to be 100% trained. You're going to have gone to school. We're going to mentor you, do all those kinds of things, and ensure your success. And so one of the things we have to do, probably the biggest thing we have to do, is fight the damage that's been done by, just throwing kids into a flat rate situation that they're not prepared for and no chance of being successful.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think is our time ending, Ted?
Well, one of the things about our industry and about our business is that, time it is perishable, right, Jeremy? So
we're on flat rate.
And we sell the
But what's cool about it is I'll kind of end it with this. And the reason I wanted to hear your origin story is because a lot of the people don't realize we used to be young. Gosh, did you know I used to be 17, 18 years old? But what I love about the dealership to young people is the great equalizer. Because I didn't go to college. I barely passed high school. I hated school. But you put me in an environment where I can work hard and show up on time, and we can see what can happen. And that's what I love about the dealership. It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, or anything. Anybody can win and succeed in the dealership world. And I love to hear your stories. I didn't know that about a lot of y'all. So it's great to hear your origin stories to see. And a lot of guys who's been in the business, it's the same thing. They started in detail or as a technician or in sales. They just got their foot in the door. That's all they needed. And then you make your own destiny once you get in.
Great to learn more about everybody on the panel, and to also hear from the young techs as well. So Jeremy, thank you for leading that. I thought that was very, very well done, and learned a lot. Jim Sabino, you and I were both young ones as well here in New Jersey. So, Richard Lupo, thank you for all you do for the industry.
Always, thank you, Ted.
Very grateful to you, my friend. Sean Kingry and Steve Burnett, thank you so much for all you do at the Kaiser Automotive Group. And of course, Jeremy Stevens and Josh Woodleaf at Bozard Ford Lincoln. The Young Tech Panel, everybody, here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
From day one, my owner has treated me so well, like one of the family. When it was time for my first oil change, she checked out bgfindashop.com. Over 50,000 dealerships and shops use high-quality BG Automotive products like MOA Oil Fortifier to help me run better, longer. When you maintain your car, it'll take care of you too. So visit bgfindashop.com. Their auto experts know which BG products will keep your car happy. Be good to your car with BG. Visit bgfindashop.com.
We're taking a road trip through history. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable Route 66 Road Trip event.
Here to check the weather before our big trip is the Revolution Parts 2025 Parts Forecasting Panel.
Welcome back to the Revolution Parts panel at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. We have some special guests with us on this panel today. Bob Bunnell of the Kaiser Automotive Group, Michael King of Revolution Parts, Ron Overs of Fixed Ops Magazine, and Richard Lupo of Appletree Honda and Acura. Everyone, welcome to the panel today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. You know, what a great topic we've got, talking about parts forecasting coming into the new year. It's that time of year, and a parts manager's roadmap to success. So excited to speak with the panel today, and everybody, welcome to the again, Fixed Ops Roundtable Revolution Parts panel. So Ron, I will start with you as the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine. I see that in the most recent issue, you've had a lot going on with parts. Ron, parts seems to be growing in popularity, because we didn't talk about it as much a few years ago, but Ron, we're talking about parts a lot today.
Thanks, Ted. And you know, you're absolutely right. Parts has become a real big topic. The reality is we see the pressures on the new car side of the business, right? Profitability is tough. There's a lot of pressures other places, and you're looking for new revenue opportunities, new opportunities to grow your fixed operations. And everyone talking about fixed operations first thinks, oh, service drive. Well, nothing gets fixed unless there's parts available. And parts is so critically important to the whole fixed operations program.
And Ron, it's a new world, okay? With some of the things that are mentioned in Fixed Ops Magazine, the latest issue, this chart is included. It talks about the future of OEM parts and accessory sales being online. And that chart shows the steady growth, Ron, of, you know, what is now today about $24.2 billion in online parts and accessory sales. Ron, growing to $35 billion in the next 5 or 6 years. Ron, that's stunning.
You know, absolutely is, Ted. If you really think about it, what other part of your business has that opportunity to grow by 50% over that time frame? And the answer is, I don't know of any. So this is a great opportunity for every dealership to look for a real growth opportunity within their organization.
And the wonderful article that accompanied this, a parts manager's roadmap to success. I thought a lot of this article and some of the tips that are mentioned in here as well. So if I may, Richard Lupo, let me come over to you. Here we are again, fourth quarter and about to go into the new year. What are you doing in terms of forecasting and, your thoughts on the online opportunity, which is growing exponentially?
Well, it is that time of year, and it's certainly always a challenge that we put out to a parts manager to bring that a way to get that increase, to keep making yourself relevant in the evolving marketplace. And there's already 24 billion out there, in that article. There's already $24 billion out there being sold online. And if you don't get a piece of that next 10 billion over the next couple of years, you're going to find yourself less and less relevant. And so it's really a call to action for the parts manager to get a roadmap presented to your executive manager, your GM, to get multiple channels opened up, online parts, online accessories, to be a big part of it. And it touches the dealership in so many ways. We talk about changing the focus of where F&I goes. The article touches a lot on absorption, and we understand that absorption makes it so much easier to do business on the front end of the business, selling cars with slimmer margins if we're taking care of all the bills in the fixed operations part of it. And so putting that roadmap together and partnering with people like Parts Revolution can get you established in those new channels faster, more consistent, and get you up to speed and realize your portion of that opportunity much quicker than you can do it on your own. So it's a great article, and getting as we're forecasting right now, including some of those revenues from channels that you may not be realizing, is going to be a significant part of what I call a divergence from normal operations, where we see a lot of dealers that 80-90% of their business is from the service department. And when you diversify your customer base and the channels that you're selling in, you're not riding with the ebbs and flows of service, and that can add a lot of value to the dealership. You can approach it from, maybe less fabric protection and more maintenance and extended warranty focus in your F&I. You're talking about adding multiples of valuation and some blue sky for your ownership as well, when you've got a really strong, diversified parts department. So the challenge is to get that roadmap built, get it forecasted, and get an efficient process to get it there. And Revolution Parts is certainly a partner that can help you get there.
Bob, this whole landscape of fixed operations is changing dramatically, including parts. Parts is getting a lot of new respect, and now a lot of new channels, to go outside where you would normally sell them, to be able to have a storefront that's open 24/7, 365 all over the world, where others can come find you, Bob.
Well, we have 40 e-commerce website. And so there's a parts and there's an accessories website. So there's two sites. And like you said, it's 24/7. A lot of times I'll come in Monday morning and I'll have 7, 8, 9, sometimes a dozen orders that have been placed over the weekend. And it's nice to be able to come in and you have those sales. It's a little tricky navigating the back end when you first start out. How to get paid on the back end from the manufacturer, because it's their website. But it started about 2 years ago, and it's pretty much doubled the sales that we have since it started.
And Michael, you work with a lot of dealers at Revolution Parts. What are you seeing out there?
We're seeing a lot more excitement when it comes to e-com. Dealers are starting to talk amongst themselves when they go to 20 groups, the discussion always ends up landing on e-com for parts and another revenue stream for the dealership. So we're seeing a lot of excitement generated at the opportunities. You know, the reality of it is your area of market responsibility is only so big. And if it's time to grow, then you got to grow outside of that market. And the world's a big place, and the opportunities are endless.
Mike, I want to come back to you for a second, because the article in Fixed Ops magazine that Ron Overs is publishing, the story of Ryan, it really resonated with me, because he was talking about his first month starting out at like $15,000 in parts sales, and by his second month had gone grossed over $63,000 in parts sales. And that is a whole entire process to get to that point. So Mike, could you share with us a little bit, in Ryan's journey, how did Revolution Parts really help him to get in that, selling, success within that first 30 days?
You know, it was a partnership. If you read through that article, Ryan's success from his side of the fence was, hard work, diligence, paying attention to details, making sure the customer journey was spot on, which an e-com has to be. From our side of the fence, Revolution provides the platform that allows him to do all that. You know, there's so many tools that are available on the platform that can be used for success. You just need the desire to be successful. And it was obvious Ryan has that desire. I mean, we've got stories of dealers that within a 12-month period have grown their business tenfold without adding staff, without adding inventory, without adding floor space, just, being true to the daily processes and to making sure that they give that customer online that wow experience, that Amazon experience that online customers are expecting nowadays. So, I read that article and it warmed my heart, because everything in it is what I live, and it was nice to see success story coming through that kind of work ethic.
And Ron, this article, it's so exciting. I mean, just to read Ryan's story, see his tips that he walks through to really just emphasize, all the pieces that he's considering in his parts e-commerce business. I'm sure there's a lot of dealerships that are also reaching out to you to inquire about, we've seen this continuation of parts e-commerce being top of mind in dealerships. What are you hearing at Fixed Ops Magazine?
We're hearing the same things that we're just talking about. And the question is, how do I get started? How do I get going? When we write articles or collaborate to get articles in the magazine, we really work to get positive stories, not the OEM's giving me a hard time. Customers are bad. I have a bad visa processing machine. We don't want to hear about that. We want to hear about what things are working and how do you make them work for you. You're one dealer. There's 16,689 of you out there. Okay. And we want all of you, to have the same opportunity to grow your business. So what is step one? And, I think the article was right. Start with the basics, really make that work, and then grow from those basics. But get a partner, get a strategic partner that's going to be there for you. And I think, Revolution Parts has been there for the long haul, and they know what they're doing. Partnering up with someone like that gets the job done. It really works.
And Bob, there was a piece in this article that in the green room, you were talking a little bit about Kaiser Automotive Group and some of the pieces with taking time for details. And so that story really was empowering. Could you share with us, how does your organization, how does your parts department really encapsulate and help with that element?
Well, we have a fairly decent staff, over a dozen members, and some specialize in one area and the other. We have back counter, front counter, wholesale. I manage most of the online orders that come in, and it's just the day-to-day details, right? Make sure your paperwork's right. If it's wrong, then I look at it. I see everything. I look at it, and hey, you missed this, and I'll show it to you. And then you can only learn from your mistakes. If you make the right decisions, the right moves all day, every day. How do you learn anything? So it's just, good opportunity to, like I was saying, sweat the small stuff, right? Be detail oriented. And then when the bigger problems come around, it's not so bad. You've already seen it.
And Rich, we were also talking a little bit about inventory management. And with Appletree, Honda, and Acura, I know you had some processes that you were implementing. So could you share with us a little bit, how do you get your inventory right? What are some pieces that dealers should be paying attention to?
Well, you got to let the algorithm do its work and make sure that you have the things in stock that you need. And as as the e-commerce builds, you've got to make accommodation for that. Additionally, there's savings, the tools that are built into Parts Revolution for finding value or cost savings in shipping. You definitely have to be aware of those things. It is the details. It's that roadmap, both on the backside for your internal process and also that customer journey as they go through your website, to be able to get those things succinctly, the Amazon experience we talked about. Those are definitely part and parcel of having a successful online retail business. Having the floor space or the inventory space can be a challenge if you don't have the real estate. We're very fortunate. We have a large wholesale division already. So as that e-commerce builds, we have the space to house some of those things, the additional inventory. But if you're moving it quickly and letting the algorithms do their job, you won't find yourself with an excessive amount of space needed to accommodate the additional business. So it's the customer journey on the front side, and it is the internal process on the back side, making sure that you have the space, the inventory's right, and letting the business guide you to having the right inventory and not overstocking or understocking yourself. So those are the two things that we pay attention to most.
Sarah, you and I had a chance to spend time at Richard's dealership recently with our event that was happening there at Appletree, Honda, and Acura, beautiful part of the state of North Carolina. And they do some very innovative things there, and they're not afraid to take chances. Mike, if I can come over to you, the getting into online and e-commerce doesn't necessitate having a whole big or new staff. It can be done small and starting small. And speak to us for that, if you could, as part of the forecasting element.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely the truth. You actually don't want to start off big, because now you never get a chance to develop your processes. And if you're putting out fires all day long, it's tough to pay attention to the details. To Bob's point, the little things matter. So starting out with a methodical approach to growth, using the staff that's already on hand, you're already leveraging real estate, lights, heat, taxes. That stuff's already being paid. So it's probably the easiest way to launch a business as far as a cash outlay goes, because you already have everything. And then as you apply the basics of e-commerce, which is a great customer experience, inventory control, paying attention to details, you will naturally just grow. So it allows you to expand into a larger operation with both staff and facilities as your operation grows. And we've had huge success stories with little dealers that have two people that run the parts room. And a year later, those same two people are selling $150,000 a month in business out of the same parts room with the same inventory. So as you really get hold of those daily routines, it just allows you to get bigger and bigger and bigger, but at a controlled pace. Nothing's worse than coming in and building out an operation that's designed to handle X amount of orders and finding 5 times that many in the inbox, because that just is chaos at that point.
And Bob, we're hearing a lot, especially in the last year and a half, that vehicle owners are keeping their vehicles longer. Okay. I think we're like at an all-time high now. So is that part of your plan on how to, capture a larger share of the parts replacement market? Because I think there's probably no better time than now to be focused on that.
It's actually music to our ears, right? Us and the fixed ops. People are hanging on to their cars, meaning they're fixing their cars. And it's part of our responsibility to tell them the maintenance schedules that they need to extend the life of their vehicle. You talked about algorithms as far as, our inventory maintenance. So if I sell X amount in a, period of time, that's something we can bring onto the shelf. And then every month we, anything that hasn't sold in 12 months, we, send back to the manufacturer. And it's kind of nice to see some of the older stuff go away and some of the newer stuff come in. We still, us in parts, we still need the service advisor and the technician to point these things out to the customer with their inspections and their upsells. But geez, parts has just grown huge just in the last 3 years, almost double in our department.
Richard, this is almost like future-proofing your business, okay, and making it recession-proof by opening up this whole new world, especially, the online portion of it.
I couldn't agree more. Like I said, there's a lot of wisdom in the old adage of trying to find where, the old adage of when sales are up, service goes down. And it's really talking about market factors that are driving consumer decisions at that point. And what we've got here is a chance to uncouple service and parts. And so if you can uncouple those two and create these other channels and online accessory stores, you can take and say, hey, parts sales are up in and are consistent with new car sales. So if cars are being sold new and you see a drop in the service department that's tied to new car sales because of the market conditions that are driving customers' decisions to purchase rather than repair, if you're 90% of the parts department's business is the service department, then they're just along for the ride. When you diversify that business, then when car sales goes up, then not just following the service department, but following new car sales, it gives you that diversification that you look for, recession-proof, or just future-proofing your business to stay relevant. So that's really where it starts for us. The conversation when you're forecasting and say, hey, we can do an extra 300, 400, 500,000 this year in sales through e-commerce. When you present that to your GM, your EM, ownership, and say, here's how we plan to do that, getting that buy-in is where this starts for us, where we say, hey, we can diversify the income streams and make it more relevant. And that's where you get that buy-in. And then as you plot that plan to get there, that's when, a partner like RevolutionParts comes in to get you there. So I agree, Ted, that the diversification, the multiple channels creates that value, that standalone value for the parts department. So it's just not tied to the service department.
Mike, I want to come to you because, this, as Rich mentioned, adapting, it just had me think about another element of the article that was in Ron's and the Fixed Ops magazine. One of the pieces talking about adapting to customer expectations. This is different. A lot of dealerships are thinking about their local, parts counter and the individuals that they know in their community coming in and out. But now you're talking about adapting and responding to somebody, across the country. And they may have a very different expectation of how quickly they get those parts or how business is done. Could you share a little bit? How do you help a dealership adapt to a wide variety of different preferences?
Well, adapting is, I mean, in our world, especially in parts, it's adapt or die. I mean, you can't continue to do business the way we did it 30 years ago. It just doesn't work. So looking at the expectations and the demands of online buyers, whether it be across the country or around the globe, I mean, buyers are everywhere. They're not just in the United States. They are literally everywhere. So setting the right expectations right from the onset, the content in your store should be relevant. It should be accurate. Your shipping should set the right expectations so that you're not setting yourself up for a problem or setting your customer up for a disappointment. There are all the things that we discuss when we're working with the dealers. What's the right shipping settings, the right amounts, because shipping is a profit center every bit as much as the parts themselves. And then great communication. You have to communicate with your customers. The worst thing that you can do is not tell them what's going on. So having those lines of communication so that the customers know exactly what's happening with their order, when they expect to receive it, how they're going to receive it, whether it be with FedEx or the post office, all of those things are what we teach the dealers who are brand new to e-commerce. This is how you're going to adapt, because you're not going to take anything that you've learned in your retail market at the parts count, at the retail counter at the dealership. Aside from a perfect customer experience, nothing we do in e-com relates. So you have to adapt to this new world of people working with people that are nowhere near you. You can't look at them face to face and tell them what's going on. So you have to find new ways of doing it. So that's a big part of the adapting to e-com.
And Bob, thinking about that adaptation, what are some ways that Kaiser Automotive Group really fulfills that customer expectation and focuses on their customer satisfaction?
I'm glad you asked. So say you're a customer and you order a part online. I get a notification that this, customer has placed an order. I make sure I have it on the shelf. If I have to order it, I'll bring it in. It's usually next day. And then mark a little box, ready for pickup, right? If I haven't heard or seen the customer in a day or two, I prefer to call. A lot of times when you want something done, you just got to get the person on the other line, because I could send you emails and emails and emails, and maybe it goes to your junk folder. Maybe you just never see it. So if I call you, hey, Mr. Customer, your part's ready for pickup, you can just come in at your earliest convenience and we'll have it ready for you. And most people come in with a smile because they know it's ready right there at the front counter, got your name on it, get you in and out, make it a smooth experience for them. I will say, as a parts manager, every once in a while, it's a little daunting letting customers pick out their own parts, right? Not every part is a paint pen. Sometimes there's, parts that maybe we should have a professional look up, but it's in place to where we can correct that if needed. And it's not a problem. It's nice to bring them in. And, just like a quick lane would bring you in for an oil change, but we want to upsell you. Hey, I see that you got, the all-weather floor mats. Well, how about the third row? I have those right here. So it's nice to get people in your store too, to pick it up.
Ron, I know you do a lot of business online as well. And just, you see a lot of e-commerce at the Fixed Ops magazine. Can you share with us a little bit? I know in, your vehicles and being in St. Augustine and around and going to Bozard, you've experienced that incredible adaptation to customer expectations. What's your perspective on this?
It's a real good point. It has changed so much over the years, right? I mean, today, we talk about people with processes for taking care of customers. Part of the process is to say 80% of these would be really easy and simple, but 20% of them, you got to go above and beyond to make that customer happy. So just do it. Just do it. Don't say it doesn't fit my process. Don't say it doesn't work. Just make whatever change that is. And you mentioned Bozard, and I'd say they're a great example of that exact thing, right? You can call them up and say, I need an oil change in my car. And they say, well, how about next Tuesday? And you go, how about this afternoon? And they're like, well, yeah, actually, I can get you in this afternoon. Ron, why don't you come on down and we'll share a burger while your car is getting your oil changed. It's just a matter of really listening to that customer and taking care of them. And we see that, right? In every aspect of our business today, people are coming out and delivering products to your home, or they're making it really, really easy for you to do business with them. And auto dealers need to do the same thing. Parts business has to be the same way, right? When you order on Amazon, right, you click the button, it says it'll be here next Thursday. You go, next Thursday? Excuse me? I was thinking like 3 p.m. What time's the next truck coming by? Right. So the mindset has changed so much that you really just today have to adapt to that as a dealer and say, when that customer asks for something, don't say no, say, well, why not? Can we meet that demand first? And if we can, go do it.
Great advice, Ron. And Ted, again, just online parts and accessory sales are projected to grow by 50% over the next 5 years. It's an incredible opportunity for everyone in the dealership space.
Yeah, the numbers are strong and continuing to grow. Mike King, from your position there at Revolution Parts, to kind of wrap up today, what's the best way for our audience who want to learn more about online, e-commerce, new parts and accessories, getting on board with the Revolution Parts platform with the great work that you do? What's the best way to take the next step?
Easiest and best way is just go to the RevolutionParts.com website, set up a demo. One of our great team will schedule some time with you and walk you through the process, show you how easy it is. And then from there, once you've educated yourself, sit down with the dealer, with the executive management team, and say, listen, I've got a plan. Here's my tools. Here's my plan for execution. We can't wait any longer. We can't sit on the porch and expect this business to come to us. We need to go and we need to take it.
Great advice. I want to thank the panel, Bob Bunnell from Kaiser Automotive Group, Richard Lupo from Appletree Honda and Acura, Ron Overs, the publisher of Fixed Ops Magazine, Michael King with Revolution Parts, and Sarah Van Tyne with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Great job, everybody, and look forward to great things ahead with Revolution Parts in the new year.
2025 is the year of the parts department, and we are excited to highlight some of the best in automotive. Join us live in New Orleans at the NADA Expo, where Revolution Parts is proud to host the prestigious Online Parts Excellence Awards, honoring the nation's top online parts sellers. This ceremony will be taking place Friday, January 24th at NADA, and will be hosted by me, Sarah Van Tyne of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. During the event, we will unveil the winners in several categories, including top overall sales, top eBay sales, top Amazon sales, Parts Excellence Award, Rookie of the Year, Influencer of the Year, and the top sales in each brand category. Be sure to join us at booth 7451 to help us celebrate the excellence in the parts industry. See you all there.
Our next panel is looking crystal clear. Please welcome VisionAST.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Ed Roberts, and we are here at Bozard Ford Lincoln. And Ted, who do we have here this morning?
Well, Ed, we've got a great friend of fixed operations and the retail dealer here at Bozard Ford Lincoln, and thank you for having us again. Pete Carusone is with us from VisionAST. Pete, welcome back to the Roundtable and to Bozard Ford Lincoln.
Thanks for having me, Ted. Thanks for the hospitality, Ed.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Glad to have you guys.
Great to be here.
So I'm thinking back maybe five and a half years ago, you came to one of the early Fixed Ops Roundtables that we did before the world changed, okay, and had a chance to see Fred Beans and Brian Benstock kind of get things started and tell us a little bit about VisionAST. And I learned what you were doing, and I've seen what you're doing now in fixed operations, and congratulations to you on the success that you're having.
Thanks, Ted. Yeah, at the time when I saw you at that round table, we were really heavy into variable operations, F&I reporting, sales reporting, and I was very intrigued on the fixed ops side. My background is operations in the retail automotive space, but didn't know fixed ops all that well, but saw the passion, the enthusiasm, and the writing on the wall to me then was that's really the future of the dealership, and that part of the business is so important. And we dove in and built some analytics and a dashboard that pulls performance metrics out of the dealer's DMS and presents it in a way that everyone can see what it means and understand it in their day-to-day operations and really benefit from it.
Ed, one of the things I really like about VisionAST is that dashboard and how Pete has created it. And I understand that you're familiar with it too here at Bozard.
Absolutely. We use it here at Bozard, and there's so many moving pieces in fixed ops. And then when there's so many moving pieces, there's ways to look at all those moving pieces. Then it becomes information overload, analysis paralysis. And when you can pull that data into one thing, make it make sense. I like to call it, let's look at the things that are most impactful. So the impactful 10, let's look at those things, put them in front of me, and let's see what we can do to make a difference with them. And that's what that does, is it centralizes it for us and really allows us to be more efficient at looking at, because anytime we're looking at numbers, we're looking at a lagging metric, but that lagging metric really sets the tone for what you can do going forward, so that you could drive the things that lead into that.
No question. Pete, when I think about an executive like Ed Roberts, okay, he's got, 400 employees or so, I'm guessing, but that number, Ed, here at Bozard. He's got a lot of things going on. He needs to be able to look at a snapshot of what's going on at his dealership. He may not need to see every single thing, but he needs to see the things that would be of most concern to him. And you've helped put something like that together at VisionAST.
That's exactly what we've done. All that data is obviously in the DMS. That's where we're pulling it from, right? But it's cumbersome. It takes time. We save so much time, and the accuracy we bring to that data. What we find so often is we're comparing our reports to DMS reports, and the discrepancy usually is in the way the DMS is reporting it, and dealers are taking that as gospel, and we're looking at raw data and ingesting that and presenting it back and finding those accuracies to be spot on when we do that, and making it so easy to access for every employee, whether it's a service writer, technician, or the management team, drives performance. Everyone is competitive and likes to know where they stand, and when you can show it to them in 5 seconds every day, it drives performance across the whole operation.
It creates that scoreboard, and the scoreboard is what really drives you. Am I lagging behind? Am I pulling ahead? What am I doing? And so, and then when you are leading the way, then you want to tell everybody. So
yeah, for sure.
The scoreboard's important, and it's hugely impactful when it's utilized correctly.
Absolutely.
Ed, I know you've seen a lot of other products that have been out there in the marketplace that do some similar things, but a lot of that is information overload, okay? There's just too much data in there. And I know you've worked with Pete to help kind of craft the things that you're interested in here at Bozard. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I thought that's fascinating.
Well, everybody wants to look at a few different things, and for the impactful 10 for me may be something different for somebody else. Somebody else may want to see everything. They may only want to see 3 or 4 things. And I love the versatility of your platform to where we can adjust it to look at the things that I want to look at, because those are the things that I feel like I can affect the most. I don't need to look at things that I'm not necessarily going to be able to affect or change or whatever else, because some things are out of our control. But the things that are the things that we should be focusing on. That should be what takes up our time and allows us to move forward and get better. We can look at that scoreboard. We can determine, did I make the right moves? Do I need to do something different? Do I need to make an adjustment here? Because we should always be working on our business. As I tell Ted all the time, the road to success is always under construction, but you got to know whether you're making progress or not.
Precisely.
A good friend of ours, Tully Williams, says that it's all about the hours.
Yes.
Would a dealer such as Tully, who's focused on certain things like the hours, have benefit from VisionAST, and would you be able to customize, based on what the dealer is looking for, like Ed is talking about now?
No question. We took that into account, Tully's opinion specifically. We found a good balance between traditional metrics and where some of those metrics are going in the future, so we can appeal to both and help people advance their ways of analyzing their industry, their business, right, and their operation. Say, okay, this is what I've always measured. However, I know the industry is looking at hours, for example. So we have several metrics that take hours into account, and that's what we're selling every day, right?
Exactly. And as we talked earlier, yes, that data is out there. He is getting it from the DMS. but there's so much data that's out there, you may not expose that data to everybody. And when you can narrow it down to the specifics that you want people to look at, now you're giving them the data, they should be looking at the data that they can control. And it really makes it impactful and it intensifies the elements of having that scoreboard to chase after.
Yeah, and one of the things we've done is created subscriptions where emails can go out, delivery with whatever frequency the management team would like to see. So you don't have to worry about your team logging in, having access. Geez, I didn't have time to log in. It's in their inbox. It's a PDF. They open it. It's right there. And they know the whole team's looking. And that's magic when everyone's looking at that every day.
There's a reason why we use you guys, because it works for us and it works the way we want to do business. And it'll work the way you guys want to do business. It's a great tool, but it's only effective if you use it. You got to set it up correctly. He's willing to make the adjustments that we need to make to it and make it work for you and your store. And when you do those things, your people will buy into it, and you can get everybody pushing in the same direction. And that's when you really start to win.
No question about that.
Pete, Ed says that it's all systems go for 2025. At VisionAST, all systems go, everything in place and ready to work with the rest of the industry.
All systems go. We're excited about 2025. We've got big plans, and so do our clients and prospects, and we're all systems go for sure.
That's what it's all about for us here in 2025. It's we got every department clicking and pushing in the same direction, and there's nothing to prevent us from launching and soaring away.
Well, Pete, Carusone of VisionAST, congratulations to you on the success that you're having. Looking forward to all the great things that are coming. Thank you for coming to Bozard Ford and working and seeing what Ed is doing here and helping them perfect what's going on and continue this success to you.
My pleasure.
I'm Ted Ings here with Ed Roberts and Pete Carusone from VisionAST. We're at Bozard Ford Lincoln, and we will be right back.
Clear. Cool. Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Short and sweet. Yes.
Hello, I'm Dennis Quaid. Advancements in technology have revolutionized the way we conduct business. Today, the quest for faster and more efficient mediums is leading to even greater technological advancements, as we're about to discover.
As the global economy continues to transition to a more service-based approach, shopping and buying priorities continue to evolve. Retailers, including automotive dealerships, are affected by this paradigm shift as customers are increasingly viewing time as their most valuable commodity.
When I go to the dealership, a lot of the times it takes forever to get things done.
When you take your car to the dealership, it's just the hassle and it's just the ugh.
I prefer only the dealership to work on my car, but the time risk makes that hard because it can literally take 2 to 3 hours just to get an oil change.
Automotive dealerships have struggled to make progress on the ranking scale of public trust. The perception persists as outdated and out of touch with the value of customer time. Fortunately, artificial intelligence, AI, is becoming a cornerstone of modernization for many businesses, and car dealerships are prime candidates. One type of AI, computer vision, is making huge strides by turning cameras from passive observers into proactive assistants. A primary dealership challenge is the number of moving process pieces involved in sales and service transactions. Advancements in computer vision understand the desired process and analyze camera footage at hyperspeeds to isolate delays and patterns, both good and bad.
We think that artificial intelligence is really going to help us improve the customer experience, and it's also going to help us deliver optimized business processes. It allows us to alert the right people at the right time, and with that type of technology, we can prevent problems before they happen. So for us, it's about making sure that if we identify an issue, we can solve that problem ahead of time before it goes off the rails with the customer journey and make sure that experience is what we expect it to be and also what we know the customer expects it to be.
Visual AI software providers are automating cumbersome process points with a smart space approach.
The real beauty of computer vision interacting with vehicles at a dealership and their traffic flow is it can be assistive without being intrusive. The fact is, car dealerships and their customers want the same thing: make it faster and easier to do business.
The AI system identifies process opportunities and bottlenecks, providing real-time alerts and data insights to employees.
This type of AI is really beneficial. It's actually saved us time. Rather than having to get up and go get information, at the flick of a switch, we can get that information. So it's definitely wherever we can save time, I'm all for it.
By utilizing smart cameras and AI technology, processes like vehicle check-ins, appraisals, and cycle times can be streamlined, offering customers a better experience.
I think if they can tell me the value of my car, like on that day, right on the spot, definitely good information to know.
Do I want to know how much my car's worth? I mean, yes, absolutely. If I want to sell my car, I want that to be my choice, my process.
If I was to get a message allowing me to know how much my car's worth at that moment, I think that would be very convenient.
Service customers do typically want to know how much the dealership would want to pay for their vehicle if it was instant, no pressure. And that's where computer vision can automate the process and give the customer the way they want it. Instantly upon arrival, camera to mobile device, frictionless.
With AI as a trusted co-pilot, auto dealers are embarking on a journey of modernization. As businesses continue to find innovative ways to use artificial intelligence, customers will be able to expect more convenient, faster, and better service from retailers, including automotive dealerships.
We're glad you could join us today. I'm Dennis Quaid. See you next time.
All signs point to our next panel, BDC Strategies with the Volie team.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. BDC has never been as important as it is today. It's a big part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable shows. And we have none other than Scott Davis and the team from Volie with us here today with a retail panel. I'm joined today by Sarah Van Tyne, Vice President of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Tully Williams from the Nilo Company in Sacramento, California, the Fixed Ops Director. Scott Davis is here. And I also want to introduce everybody to Marla Cardenas and Liza Martinson. Marla, if you don't mind, first just introduce yourself and tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm down here in Houston. I'm the platform director for all the Team Gilman stores. Been in the business for about 40 years.
Marla, welcome. Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Thank you for joining us. And Liza.
Yeah, I'm the vice president for our customer success team at Volie. I'm based in Fort Myers, Florida, originally from Wisconsin, but migrated south a few years ago. So thanks for having us.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have a wealth of knowledge here, and I'll get right to it. Tully, I'm going to come to you first over in Sacramento. I want to talk a little bit about centralizing BDCs. I know that's something that you have done at Nilo. You recently expanded that. Tully, why are you centralized?
It was a big decision, right? First is that we had to have the right software. And of course, Scott at Volie came through for us. But I think that too is that when we look at what it really does for us, we answer the phone better. I'm just going to say it one more time. That's what it's all about. We answer the phone better and convert those to appointments. And when you have individual BDCs, I'm going to call those service coordinators at your store that do a whole bunch of other things as well, is that your focus is not answering the phone the best way possible. And with a centralized BDC, is that that's their job. Their job and their bonuses are tied to making people happy and making sure that appointments show up. And we started small. And what we found is we said, let's do a couple stores because we were a little worried. This was a new horizon for us. And then all of a sudden, every dealership's like, how do we get in? We need to get in. We need to get in because we're answering the phones. We're taking that away from the store. And oh my God, we're doing a much better job converting those great people that call us into appointments that show up 100% of the time.
Liza, you work with a lot of dealerships around the country. What are you seeing when it comes to centralization?
Similar to what Tully's mentioning. I think initially when you've got a group of stores, you might have some personalities at the store who are hesitant to centralizing. I think right? People like being able to see and touch and feel people at their store who are talking to their customers. But as Tully's mentioning, I think that staffing wise, management wise, centralizing your BDC, there are a lot of advantages. We have a lot of groups that move to centralizing their BDC, even moving then that centralized team outside of any dealership. So they might be working out of a separate office so that they really can stay tuned in to all of the communications that they have with their customers. So agreed.
Thank you, Liza. Marla, what are you seeing there at Gilman?
A lot of what was just said. We originally had coordinators at each of the stores, yet we were still hemorrhaging phone calls. And quite frankly, I think our service advisors are very good face-to-face. And this also allows them more time with the customers and not panicking to try to grab a call. Once we centralized it, and especially got on Volie, we became extremely super efficient. And our drop rate went down to basically telling us we're overstaffed and we're at half the staff we used to be. So financially, it makes an extraordinary difference. All the way around, it makes a big difference. And we were originally on the second floor of one of our Honda buildings. And we elected to move it into its own area outside of that, where we don't allow anybody in but people who are related to the call center.
Tully, do you agree with some of that in terms of the advisors being better face-to-face?
Let's just put it this way. Advisors are not good at appointment making at all. And here's the deal. If they're busy, they're going to push the appointment off, right? They are not designed to take appointments. They're designed to make customers happy that, like Marla said, that are in front of you only. That's what we want them to do, because that's what they do a great job of. Same day selling, CSI, get the car done right, give them the quotes, give them the pictures and videos. That's what we want a service writer to do. And we want to take away all of the appointments calls away from the store 100%, and let someone that knows that, because that's their job to do 100% of the time. And what you'll see is that with Volie, we don't miss a phone call. If it goes to a voicemail in Volie, it automatically gets rerouted to, it gets answered right away and respond. As our customers know that when they hit that appointment only button on their phone, they know they're going to get someone to answer them right away or within 5 minutes. And that to me is the huge win here.
Sarah, you've worked with a lot of BDCs all across the country. What are you seeing?
I love the discussion about a centralized BDC, because I've found that that's really been the most effective strategy, both for your investment and then also from a growth strategy perspective. So I'll equate a centralized BDC to kind of being like on the Starship Enterprise in Star Trek. When you have a BDC manager that's right there on the bridge, you have your whole team surrounding you. When something happens, you can make a split-second decision about what needs to happen with that customer, with that phone call. When you have things spread out across different rooftops and stores, now you're relying on the phone system. They have to pick up the phone and try to reach the BDC manager or reach somebody else in management to get them to help that customer situation. And that just creates more inefficiencies from a timing perspective. And so from a customer satisfaction side, from a financial side, when you have all your people centrally located and together as a manager, when something is going on, you can make that split-second decision to benefit that customer. The customer doesn't get that hold time to delay their satisfaction, and then everything else speeds up.
Sarah, you mentioned the Starship Enterprise. I can already see Tully Williams having some visions of grandiose there with his new centralized BDC, perhaps renaming it to the Starship Enterprise, Sarah.
Tully, we're happy to rebadge your BDC.
You're 100% right. And it's one thing you said that really caught my eye is that when you have a BDC manager, and what we found is that we had a service advisor that was doing an incredible job, was part of our Millionaire Club, right, that decided to want to do some management and take it easy a little bit, is that we had him take over our BDC. I think he's probably working a little bit harder now. But the goal is that that's what their job is 100%. Think about a BDC agent. I'm going to call a service coordinator at a store. The service manager is not really worried about that person. What are they worried about? Are we answering the phone? Is a customer upset? The technician caught the car on fire. The toilet's plugged. I got to turn the AC up. That's all they care about, right? And when you have a BDC agent that is her or his focus is to do what? To make sure people get the phone answered and done a proper way and fill up your appointment calendar. That's what happens. The focus is on answering the phone and making great appointments, and also make outbound appointments. That has been one of our big successes at the Nilo company.
Tully, I want to expand on that because we have Scott with us here today. Talk to us over at the Nilo company. You've got 10 luxury import dealerships in the Sacramento, California market. You've got the oldest Porsche dealership in the United States, and also now most recently, the newest Porsche dealership. And you decided to centralize the BDC at the new Porsche location. What were some of the thoughts behind doing that, and why now?
So I think when we look at it, when we first started, I think that we started like 5 or 6 months ago, and it was actually on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. How you got Scott and I together is that we decided to try it small because we were scared, just like everybody else is saying, "Oh my God, we're going to blow this place up." And what we found is that we put 1 store, then 2 stores, and 3 stores, and now we have 8 out of the 10 stores on it, and we're trying to modify the phone system that it points it out there. I think someone mentioned, get them away from the dealership. So our job right now is that they're in the back of some dealership that's usually away from everybody. But as we get them grown into our new facility for a Porsche store, it'll be upstairs. It's going to be right next to the payroll department. So they'll have their own office. It's going to be completely separated, and their focus can be 100% making people easier to make an appointments for us. That's the win.
Scott Davis, Volie, #1 BDC engine. You're the president of the company. I recall that day that you were on the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and Tully reached out for more information, asked me if I might help coordinate that as well. You've been out to Sacramento to the Nilo company. Talk to us about the logistics there, and also Tully mentioned the importance of those outbound calls and how Volie plays into that.
Well, I mean, I had a great visit with them in Sacramento. They've got a great setup. The big thing that really strikes me that they've set up there is they're really supported. They've supported the BDC. And, I don't want to leave out our single stores. About 30% of our stores we work with, now we're up to 750 stores in the U.S. that use Volie, and about 30% of them have the single store. Marla and Tully have kind of nailed, without saying it directly, the real key is management regardless. Single stores, you need that manager regardless. And we know a lot of really good single store operators who do a great job. They've got a great manager, and the service director wants to follow up on it. To answer your question on outbound, when you're in the single store, and Marla when we spoke yesterday, she had a good comment on that as well. It's a matter of focus. Some days the BDC agent, when they're at the store level, has so many extra tasks that it's not a focus. If you really want to improve productivity, centralizing it with one good manager is very cost effective, but it also really improves you or helps you proactively go out and find business.
Marla, talk to us about Team Gilman. How many rooftops, how many dealerships, and how do you make sure that each store gets the attention it needs in a centralized BDC?
Well, I'm glad you asked. We're September will be 8 rooftops, and so it's very exciting for us. We're opening our Volkswagen store, and don't have to add any staff on. So that we're real pleased to say too, that our staff, we're the marketing epicenter for service as well as the centralized call center, and because of the efficiencies we run, we're able to do those things. We assign a store to each of our, we call them concierges. We're able to assign each of them a store that they take ownership of. And that has certain tasks assigned to it. And since an average employee really only works about 4 or 5 hours a day, we make sure we're switching up what they're doing throughout the day in our shifts. So we make sure we have full coverage on inbound, outbound, recalls, marketing, calling people who are at risk or ready for their first oil change. I mean, we have so many moving parts to this. And Volie has been tremendous with that because we can load a lot of those campaigns into the system. Person can sit down, plug in, and boom, calls are being fed in one after another. as they hang up, giving them all the time they need to get the job done. And it's also controlled the traffic in our service lanes, which means that we have seen an uptick in the dollar amounts in ROs.
That's very impressive. Liza, let me come to you because you work with both centralized locations and, as Scott mentioned, individual. We don't want to forget about the individual stores. It's a big part of our business as well. What are you seeing, Liza?
For sure. I think primary responsibility of any BDC, whether you're centralized or you are operating from a single store, your first obligation is to inbound calls. I think you asked earlier about, talking about inbound versus outbound. First priority is to, Tully was saying, answer the phone when it rings. And if it rings and you miss it, you need to call that person back. So, you get with a single store and you kind of have your designated team. There's a little bit of math involved with making sure that you're staffed to cover the inbound calls. And I think that's where most of our really skilled managers of a single store, that's where they start. They're evaluating, how many calls per hour each individual rep can manage, and then stacking that against their anticipated volume each hour of the day, and then staffing their team out, based on, okay, if I can expect X number of calls between 8 and 9, I know Marla can cover those on her own. But come 10 o'clock, we've got to add, Liza and Scott to make sure that we can cover our inbound calls. Then you add on top of that you want to, you also want your BDC to be doing some outbound work.
Yes.
So that's where utilizing any tool, anything where you can, strategize on the outbound calls. There are some communications that have to be made every day, right? If they're made tomorrow, they're late kind of thing. So that's your appointment confirmations, your CSI follow-up. So I think, if you're managing with a single store, you just have a little bit less wiggle room. So you have to be a really excellent operator. You have to know your team really well. Scott always mentions it's a math equation. It's figure outable, but you just have a little less wiggle room when you're working with a single store versus a centralized BDC. But.
Well, Liza, I've been watching Scott Davis's segments on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I've taken a lot of notes, and one of the notes is that Mondays are a very important day in the world of BDC. Tell us maybe some tips on how you help equip some of these stores, because as you mentioned, as we get later into the morning, okay, it gets even more important on that, for example, Monday.
Right. Yeah. And if you've heard, I'm sure Scott has said in the past, Mondays are important on both ends, both on the inbound side and the outbound side. So on a Monday, you're going to get all those people who've been anxiously waiting for you to open your doors again. Maybe you were closed on Sunday. They're calling you right away on Monday. But also when you're reaching out to people on a Monday, they're more likely to pick up the phone when you're making your outbound calls. So so our kind of motto is never miss a Monday. Recommendations that I would make, whether you're looking in your call logs or you have some software, some tracking system, your inbound volume is relatively predictable. After holidays, we always see that there's a spike in volume. You're going to have a super Monday after a holiday. But otherwise, inbound volume is relatively predictable. If you look at any given Monday between 8 and 9, your volume is going to be consistent Monday to Monday to Monday. So if it were me, I would stack that against, I can see approximately how long each inbound call takes. That's going to vary depending on what you have your team doing. Are they taking status checks? Are they solely scheduling appointments and they're transferring status checks? But you can kind of figure out what those numbers are for your team. And then if you figure in, I might miss 3% of my calls or 4% of my calls, then I've got to, make room for some time to call those customers back. But that's what I would recommend is start by looking at your inbound volume. Your inbound volume is predictable. So if you staff according to that, then you add one rep, all of a sudden, you can start making some dents in outbound, which you want to do on a Monday as well. So.
And Marla, I know you've measured it. You mentioned that earlier. Do these facts hold true in Houston as well that Liza is sharing with us?
it could hold true on the moon if you're doing service there. And we have an inbound and an outbound team. So, and they swap out. So that way we have KPIs that need to be hit. And we measure everything because the only thing that drives the narrative is analytics. We really don't care how people feel. Feelings don't come into being facts. So what we do, I mean, we care about our employees' feelings, but I mean, as far as the analytics go. So what we are doing is we're making sure that we have to, with superstores being a couple of our stores, they have very stringent rules. In fact, especially with their mystery shops and everything else, they have the strictest of rules, strictest of talking points, strictest of everything. So we use that policy throughout all of our stores. So we'll be fine no matter which one of our OEMs we're taking care of. And that way we make sure we get it before a certain amount of rings that we answer it. And then we're making sure we're still getting our outbounds done in a timely fashion. And then we have AI that assists us after hours and is sending text messages, answering text messages, taking calls. So when we get in, we're efficiently able to start on that in the morning.
Sarah, isn't this refreshing to hear this really strong panel on BDC?
You know, Ted, it's been something that I've been passionate about for over 14 years. And BDC is, you know, it's just exactly what the name entails, business development. And so many times dealerships lose sight of that role in a BDC is the business development component. And the inbound calls, you know, sometimes dealerships only focus on that element. Just let's stop the bleeding, answer the phone, and move on with it. But the outbound is so important because that additional component is what makes the difference in your business and actually grows your customer base and grows the loyalty that your customers have to you.
Tully, I see you chomping at the bit to get in. Go ahead.
You know, I think the outbound call has been our biggest eye-opening event. I think, you know, the inbounds, we're doing a much better job than we ever did before. But the outbounds, you know, as we do pictures and videos for every inspection that we do, and we sell things that we recommend our family members, that when the customer leaves and doesn't buy everything, which we expect that customer already knows they should already have that. So our outbounds on declined services that we do have been huge success because they already know what they need, and we're not selling them things they don't need. And that helps the outbounds. Another thing, the biggest thing is special order parts, which I call future, that will be what your future allowance is going to be to send back to the factory after 12 months. We call on all of those, and we've had a great success bringing those people back in. And if they don't want to come back in, we can tell the parts manager that part, they can return it. So we do a great job on making sure we have special order parts. And then last but not least, recalls. Well, that's what the BDC loves the best because they know they're going to get an appointment probably for sure, right? And those are the ones they all like. And then now, guess what happens? Our OEMs are loving us because we're doing what? We're getting our recalls done in our market. So when you look at the outbounds, to me, that is probably the best thing about a BDC is making sure we're getting those outbounds, talking to those great employees. Our employees are talking to our great customers and getting them back in the door on a regular basis. And then the holy grail is let's call them before they need a service appointment, not after they need a service appointment that you missed it. And now we're seeing those as we building up all of our campaigns inside Volie, those are being huge success for us. When we opened up a new store, when we opened up another Porsche store, and that Porsche store is empty. So what now we can call people up and say you're a Porsche customer and you're due. We can tell them they have an option of what store, and guess what? That person can handle that right quickly on the phone. Having those outbound calls are the best. And what we're finding out is that when the person answers the phone, we make the appointment 60+% of the time. It's a huge number, right? And you know, and all we want to do is get better and better. As Marla said, we're all about KPIs. At the Needle Company, we are all about the KPIs, and we want to show the wins every day.
Marla, I see you shaking your head. Tully's talking about outbound. He's talking about recalls, about how this leads to pictures and videos. Marla, this is really a huge strategy at the dealership.
Well, this is very exciting for us because this is a real strong point for us and something we couldn't manage without being on Volie. There was just no way to do it. There was no way for me to not only manage it, but there was no way for me to measure it. So, for instance, if somebody calls in and just hangs up right away, we call those people back. And on those people we call back, we have a 26 to 32%, depending on the brand, set rate for appointments. Now, would they have come in? I don't know. We don't know. But what we do know is we didn't have to play poker with it. The other thing too is that it helps us be extraordinarily efficient between our text messaging and our phone calls, which for our first owners clinics, our request and declines, our CSI, CSC, whatever brand you're with, our Conquest, we've gotten very good with Conquest. There's a whole lot of other things that we have moving. Special order parts is one of them as well. And body shop too. I mean, we have so many different avenues we're able to measure on. But the thing is that it's just like you were saying, is that our appointment penetration is so extremely high, but our show rate that's the report card. And when you're hovering in the high 80s month over month, you can't fudge those type of numbers. And the heat rate, now, if you ask your service advisors and you ask your service directors, once they do this, how's the heat in your department? The customer heat goes down exponentially because you actually have people who are actually answering the phone. So, which is nice. And setting appointments for when the customer wants to come in, not when the service advisor is available to take care of the customer. So there's a whole lot of, it's like a finely tuned watch. There's a lot going on.
Marla, I've learned a lot from the Volie panels over the last year, and a lot of terms that Scott Davis has brought. That's a new term for me, heat rate. I'm going to put that one down in the book. And I'm going to follow up with Scott. Scott, you've got two very respected dealer groups here, Gilman in Houston, Nilo in California. They're using the Volie system. Scott, they know the numbers. They know the percentages. They know where they're at. And that speaks volumes to what you're doing at Volie.
Well, we want to help them run profitable BDCs. By the way, September is hurricane season in Florida. I did lose power twice. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Hopefully that was when Liza was talking, but we're all good here. We want to give them the numbers so that they can run a profitable BDC. It all comes down to management. I will talk a bit about labor. Marla kind of hit it on the head. If you you can generally add additional stores without adding labor if you centralize it, and the math is a lot better. I mean, if you've got a single store and you take 50 inbound calls a day, just because of how they're dispersed, you might have dropped 20 of them, and that just doesn't happen with or they get sent to a service advisor or such. I still think the key is these guys, though. We give them the numbers they need. The management is what runs these things. Software only amplifies good people doing it, and they're good examples of it. I did want to have them talk about showing all the stores love, how they do that, because one of the big complaints for the stores that choose not to centralize, we do have some very large publics that don't centralize their BDCs, and one of their complaints is that the service managers complain that their store isn't getting enough attention. So how do you guys answer that?
I'll take that first. So what we like to do is that we like to do the BDC roadshow. So, and what happens is the first one we did, we took everything from the BDC and then no one answered the phone. So we learned that really quickly. But the goal is that if we bring one or two people from the BDC to have a meeting with the writers and with the service and parts managers, we find out like they're amazed on all of the great things we're doing for their stores. And it builds that relationship between everybody. So now they're asking for the road shows at their stores. They're asking, what can you do for us? And they're asking, how do I get my show rate at 100%, right? How do we get more appointments, or how do I help with special order parts, or how do I do this and how do we do that? And the BDC there is a huge part of that. So having a road show for your BDC, if you're centralized or not, is a must. And what our goal is to show off about how important a BDC is to a store. It's got to be one of your most prized possessions at your store.
Wow, Marla?
We're kind of a little bit of the opposite. We believe that you come to the mountain, and Mr. Gilman and Mr. Califf, require every service advisor to sit for a couple of days in the Service BX call center, learn what we do, and work. And when they actually see what's going on here, their heads explode. So it's kind of cool. And we also look at our call center as a mentorship program, because the people who advance from here have become very successful service writers. So what we hope that we're doing is, aside of teaching the people who are here how valuable it is, and knowing that all the information they need for a solid appointment is already in XTime or Care Connect, whatever you're using, and allows them that extra time to spend in building rapport. They're like, wow, okay, I can live with that. And then also, I can't do this all day. They know that once they have to be here for a couple of days and we require them to work their own store, it's very eye-opening for them. And then once we place one of our previous concierges into their store as a service advisor and they're kicking their butt, that's a whole new game changer too, because they've all done extremely well, and we have 100% retention on the people who have come through our mentorship program. So we're growing our own people instead of hiring other people's problems.
Liza, there are a lot of best practices being shared in this panel, and I appreciate you bringing everybody here. Liza, do most stores, when they come to Volie, do they already have an existing BDC and they're looking for a solution?
Good question. Most, yes, not all. We have had a few clients who've come to us, hey, we're just starting out. We haven't even hired a team yet, but they're establishing a BDC. So a little bit of both. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Scott Davis, every session we do with Volie, we learn a whole lot more. We've got two great dealers here, Team Gilman and Nilo Company. Scott, for our audience who knows that there's nothing more important than that phone call coming in to start things off, and then what all it can lead to. Scott, what's the best way for our audience to learn more about Volie?
Well, of course, our website, volie.com, my email and my cell phones on the screen too. I answer every call, nights, weekends, I'll be here. And I just want to come back. It was great to meet Sarah and hear her feedback. And of course, Liza is always awesome. Tully and Marla are just super generous with their time. And I just really want to thank them for today.
Yeah, what a great panel, everybody. I want to thank everybody for being here today on the Volie panel. Marla Cardenas from Team Gilman, thank you. Hopefully the first of many Fixed Ops Roundtables, Marla. Great knowledge. Thank you so much. Love it. Tully Williams from the Nilo Company. Sarah Van Tyne, thank you so much today. Great information. Liza Martinson at Volie. Great to meet you, Liza. Have you back for more of these Fixed Ops Roundtables. And Scott Davis from Volie. Again, cutting edge information, real timely. So thank you for bringing all this to the roundtable.
Yep, thank you.
Everybody, for more information, you can learn about Volie, the #1 BDC engine. You can get a hold of Scott Davis, the president. Go to volie.com. Scott's email is scrolling across the bottom. That's his cell phone. It says you can call or text. Check it out, okay? And on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you, everybody, for your time here today on the Volie panel.
moment now to pull over and pull out your phones to scan the QR code on your screen to vote for the Sean Butler Best Practice Awards that will be announced at the end of the event. Remember, every vote counts. So make sure to make room in the van for the 5 best speakers or panelists to join your road trip by casting your vote. And remember, you can only vote once.